Chapter 11:20. Since everyone was aware of the crisis, Wang Sheng would not suppress their feelings. It was good to be under pressure. Wang Sheng was willing to help everyone create the best environment and cultivate them. The next morning, Wang Sheng finished his cultivation. After breakfast, he strolled out of Duke Chongqing's mansion with old Taoist Ling Su. Watching Wang Sheng and old Taoist leave the mansion, Rosa looked at Mayer strangely and asked, "Madam, aren't you going to stop the Duke?" Both of them knew that Wang Sheng must have gone to look for Song Yin. When they returned yesterday, Mayer told Wang Sheng that Song Yin had also come to the capital. It was obvious that she knew something and deliberately told it to Wang Sheng. "Why should I stop him?" Mayer smiled happily and replied, "No matter how powerful eldest Lady Song is, she can't possibly snatch the Duke away from us. She just wants the Duke to go out and have a taste of fresh food and relax. Why stop her? Then why are you still acting jealous in front of the Duke?" Rose couldn't help but twitch her mouth and snappily say to Mayer. It should be known that when Mayer talked about Song Yin in front of Wang Sheng, she was not as magnanimous and calm as she was now. "I just want the Duke to know my attitude." Mayer smiled and said, "She has never been a threat, even if she becomes Duke Song." Rosa looked at Mayer and couldn't help but admire her secretly. Mayer was absolutely smart. She was so smart that her enemies were afraid of her. Her only weakness was probably Wang Sheng. As long as Wang Sheng liked something, even if Mayer didn't like it, she would help Wang Sheng get it. Unfortunately, Mayer and Rosa didn't expect that they thought Song Yin was just a side dish for Wang Sheng to taste. In fact, Wang Sheng was the main dish for Song Yin. Ever since Wang Sheng and Song Yin had sex in a land of thousand despair, every time they met, it was Song Yin who took the initiative, not Wang Sheng. "You're just my gigolo. Do I need to explain to you what I want to do in the capital?" When Wang Sheng rode on her horse, Song Yin completely took the initiative. Wang Sheng didn't need to do anything except lie down obediently. When Rosa waited on Wang Sheng didn't need to move. However, Rosa considered Wang Sheng's feelings more than her own. When it came to Song Yin, her first consideration was for herself, followed by Wang Sheng. That was the difference. It was obvious that Song Yin was gaining more and more power. Even the way she spoke had changed a little. She now had the dignity of someone in a high position. However, Wang Sheng understood that all of this was an act that Song Yin had no choice but to put on. After doing this for so long, even she herself didn't know whether she was the weak woman by the lake in the Forbidden Zone or the woman whose words carried enormous weight and who killed without hesitation was Song Yin. It was easy to imagine the pressure on Song Yin to support the kingdom of Song on her own. Thinking of this, Wang Sheng couldn't help but feel pity for her. Even if Song Yin treated her like a human masseuse, it was only when she was with Wang Sheng that Song Yin could let go of all the pressure and completely let herself go. When Song Yin completely softened and lay in Wang Sheng's arms, Song Yin revealed a trace of weakness. But even so, she still stubbornly told Wang Sheng that Wang Sheng was just a gigolo. Wang Sheng only needed a deep kiss to turn Song Yin back into a little woman who needed someone to rely on. However, Song Yin still didn't change her stubborn habit. Even though her body was already soft, she still wanted to be on top of Wang Sheng. Wang Sheng didn't care about this little stubbornness and persistence. He gently stroked Song Yan's naked back and said a few six-word formulas for Song Yan's body. After a while, Song Yin actually fell asleep on top of Wang Sheng. One had to know that it was noon. Song Yin should have been wide awake after a night's sleep, but she actually fell asleep. One could imagine how much pressure Song Yin was under. When she didn't have to be tense in Wang Sheng's arms, her body and mind were both relaxed, allowing her to fall asleep with a sweet smile. Song Yin slept all the way until dusk. Only then did she wake up. During this time, in order not to disturb Song Yin, Wang Sheng just lay down and let Song Yin lie on top of him without moving. When she realized that Wang Sheng had been acting as a cushion for the whole afternoon, Song Yan's first reaction was to smile and give Wang Sheng a French kiss. The two kissed for a full 10 minutes before they slowly let go. "It's your reward." Song Yin was very happy. At least this heartless guy still had her in his heart. Is it a reward from the Duchess or Song Yin? Wang Sheng asked with a smile, his hand still holding Song Yan's naked body. It's Song Yan's reward. Song Yin was very happy, very happy. Thank you for killing the Marquis of Dai State and the Grand Elder. Song Yin had never forgotten the humiliation that Dai State had caused her. This time, Wang Sheng helped her vent her anger. When Song Yin heard the news, she was so happy that she didn't know how long she had been smiling. When she saw Wang Sheng, she naturally had to thank him personally. It was the old Taoist who did it, not me. Wang Sheng denied with a smile. Then it was you who destroyed Dai State's palace, right? Song Yin didn't care who it was, as long as it had something to do with Wang Sheng. Wang Sheng didn't admit it, so he immediately changed the reason. The Grand Elder is new. You were the one who killed the original one, right? That's me. This time, Wang Sheng didn't deny it and admitted it straightforwardly. Both of them were done by Wang Sheng, so there was no need to deny it. Then I'll reward you with this. Song Yin kissed him again. After the kiss, Wang Sheng asked, Did you come to the capital for the Laojun Temple's Dharma assembly? Other than that, I also came to the capital to see a heartless fellow. Song Yin couldn't help but feel annoyed. You've been to the land of despair so many times, but never once did you go to the kingdom of song to see me. After saying that, she bit Wang Sheng's shoulder, leaving 2 neat rows of imprints. After thinking about it, Wang Sheng also felt embarrassed. Just as Song Yin said, Wang Sheng had been to the land of despair so many times, but never went to the kingdom of song. Perhaps he felt uncomfortable. Being bitten, Wang Sheng accepted it. I didn't make it to the concert. Feeling Wang Sheng's apologetic and gentle touch, Song Yin looked at her enemy and couldn't help but say coquettishly, I don't care. You have to pay me back. Sure. Wang Sheng hoped that Song Yin, who was coquettish and unreasonable, would stay in her coquettish and unreasonable state for a while longer. Without hesitation, he agreed and said, Stay after the Dharma assembly. I'll make those grandmasters work hard again. Anyway, he had already promised to make arrangements for Rose and her sisters. One sheep was the same as herding a flock of sheep. He would just do it all at once. At least you know what's good for you. Song Yin smiled with satisfaction. She touched the bite marks on Wang Sheng's shoulder and couldn't help but remind him worriedly, You have to be careful. Chapter 1121. Wang Sheng remained silent, waiting for Song Yan's reminder. This time, the Dai family will definitely treat you as their mortal enemy. They won't let you off just because of the secret of the Ground of Thousand Despair, Song Yin said. They don't want to know the secret of the Ground of Thousand Despair anymore. Wang Sheng asked Song Yin with a smile. Given their current situation, it's already good enough that they can protect themselves. How dare they covet the secret of the Ground of Thousand Despair? Song Yin sneered. If that's the case, I guess they'll just give up. Since they don't have a chance, I'll kill you, so that no one else has a chance. That makes sense. Wang Sheng nodded. From the Dai family's point of view, it wasn't surprising for them to have such a thought. Aren't you worried? Song Yin could not help but ask when she saw Wang Sheng nodding along with her. Why should I be worried? Wang Sheng smiled. Shouldn't you be the one worrying? What should we be worried about? Song Yin was almost amused by Wang Sheng. She had warned him out of goodwill, but he didn't appreciate it. Aren't you worried they'll be killed by the Dai family, and you won't have a chance to unravel the secret of the Ground of Thousand Despair? Wang Sheng smiled again. Huh? Song Yin was stunned. When she thought that the Dai family would harm Wang Sheng, Song Yin was indeed a little flustered. She was too concerned. But now that Wang Sheng had put it this way, Song Yin realized that there was indeed nothing to worry about with Wang Sheng. Song Yin was smart enough to figure out that she had made a mistake because she was concerned about Wang Sheng. Since Song Yin could see through the Dai family's plan, how could the other families not see through it? In this case, even if it was for their own sake, the other families would definitely send out experts to protect the Dai family. The Song family must be afraid, right? Wang Sheng chuckled. In order to show that the Song clan values me, send your Duke Song's daughter over to protect me. Song Yin was so angry that she slapped the bite mark on Wang Sheng's shoulder. She would never have to worry about this be*** start again. All of a sudden, her worries were gone. Song Yin instantly reverted to the aloof and invisible Duchess. She sat up and kicked Wang Sheng off the bed. "Get lost," Song Yin coldly ordered Wang Sheng. "Wash yourself up and come serve me tomorrow morning." Wang Sheng stood up with a smile. He didn't care that his body was still naked. He slowly found his clothes and put them on. Song Yin just sat on the bed and watched indifferently. When Wang Sheng got dressed and was about to leave, Song Yin added, "Make sure you're clean. Don't come with the smell of other women's perfume." Wang Sheng's body flickered as he charged towards Song Yin. Song Yin was shocked, and just as she was about to jump up, she was blocked by the blanket. Wang Sheng grabbed her arms and pressed her down onto the bed. Wang Sheng kissed Song Yin's cherry lips and kissed her fiercely for a few minutes. Then, he laughed and let go of Song Yin. He turned around and walked out. The moment he closed the door, a pillow was thrown at the door. Only the naked Song Yin was left in the room. She stared at the door that Wang Sheng walked out with an indescribable expression on her face. Walking with the old Taoist, Wang Sheng enjoyed the afterglow of the evening. It really felt like an ordinary person coming home after a long day of work. "Old Taoist, are you hungry?" Wang Sheng asked old Taoist Ling Su. "By the time you remember, I would have starved to death." The old Taoist said to Wang Sheng, "The gigolo of a female duke. Old Taoist, don't think that I don't dare to hit you just because I can't beat you." Wang Sheng gave the old Taoist the middle finger. "Eavesdropping is not a good habit. Instead of thinking about this, why don't you think about how you're going to explain if Mayor smells your perfume?" The old Taoist also gave Wang Sheng the middle finger and retorted with a sneer. It was very safe in the capital, especially when he was strolling with the old Taoist. There wasn't even a stalker. Ever since the incident at the Dai clan's palace spread, no one dared to follow the old Taoist. If they bumped into each other on the road, they would bow from afar and run away. They didn't bump into many people on their way back. Once they returned, the first thing Wang Sheng faced was Mayor's cold face. Then, Mayor immediately put on a beaming expression for the old Taoist and accompanied the old Taoist to prepare dinner for the old Taoist. Wang Sheng smiled embarrassedly. Then, Rosa snickered as he was brought to dinner by Rosa. Then they took a bath. Rosa looked at Wang Sheng's table manners and seemed to have guessed that Wang Sheng hadn't eaten anything. She couldn't help but grumble, "Really, it's been a day, and you don't even care about a meal." Wang Sheng didn't know what to say. His fiancée, Mayor, seemed to be well aware of the matter between him and Song Yin. Even his concubine, Rosa, was like this. Fortunately, they didn't cause any trouble. Otherwise, how would he live? There were still a few days before the Dharma assembly. No one was in a hurry to go there, lest they were rejected at the door. Anyway, it was less than a day's journey. They just had to go there a day earlier. These 2 days, Wang Sheng's life was quite enviable. At night, Rosa, who served Wang Sheng wholeheartedly, would serve Wang Sheng attentively. Wang Sheng didn't even have to lift a finger. During the day, Wang Sheng didn't have to lift a finger at Song Yan's place. He just had to let Song Yan vent. Of course, other than the old Taoist, Mayor, and Rosa, no one else knew about Song Yan's visit. No one knew that the courtyard was Song Yan's residence. No one dared to follow her, and no one could. It was quite convenient. While Song Yan was staying here for a few days, Wang Sheng wanted to give this strong woman a little more comfort. It was a pity that he couldn't be with her after all. Wang Sheng and Song Yan understood this. However, no one said anything. It was an amazing tacit understanding. The day of the Dharma assembly finally arrived. The day before, important figures from all sides set off from the capital city and headed straight for the Dharma assembly in the suburbs. The Dharma assembly didn't shut them out this time. Instead, it prepared guest rooms for all the guests. Everyone settled down obediently, and no one dared to cause any trouble. Wang Sheng, Mayor, and Rosa also stayed in the guest rooms. However, this guest room was used to entertain internal guests. It was inside the Dharma assembly, unlike the representatives of the vassal states who stayed outside. In this aspect, the Dharma assembly's own people and outsiders were still clearly differentiated. Song Yin arrived too. However, she didn't meet Mayor or Rosa. all the important figures of the vassal states declined. Even a new king of the Dai kingdom, Dai Xiao, rushed over. Wang Sheng hadn't seen him yet. However, it was said that Dai Zhao's attitude was very humble. He didn't have the arrogance of Dai Huan in the past. Everyone was looking forward to the Dharma Assembly's attitude. They wanted to know if the Dao sect would also join the battle for hegemony. Amidst everyone's anticipation, the Dharma Assembly of the Lao Jun Temple finally began the next morning. Chapter 1122. The ceremony of the Dharma Assembly was very long. All the Taoist priests below the Grand Abbey Dean wore solemn Dharma robes and had their own positions. They followed the procedures of the Dharma Assembly in an orderly manner. They bowed to the Grand Supreme Elder when it was time to do so. They stood where it was time to do so and offered incense when it was time to do so. They were extremely serious. The various feudal lords and the representatives of the royal family were invited to the ceremony as distinguished guests. They were arranged to sit at the VIP seats outside the main hall. They were very close to each other and could see everything clearly. Although it was said to be the Grand Supreme Elder Temple's Dharma Assembly, it was actually the entire Dao sect's Dharma Assembly. The sect masters of the 6 sects of Dao sect were all present. When it was time to pay their respects to the Grand Supreme Elder, the 6 sect masters stood in a row and bowed in unison. To the Dao sect, this Dharma Assembly was basically a ceremony for the Taoist priests to thank the Grand Supreme Elder after inheriting the legacy of the Grand Supreme Elder. Of course, it was also an opportunity for the successors of the various sects to appear. At the same time, it was also a declaration of the Dao sect's position to the world. What the various forces were really concerned about was actually the last one. They wanted to know what the Dao sect was thinking. But now, everyone's attention was focused on the 2 offerings on the table in front of the Grand Supreme Elder. They were 2 well-preserved human heads. Anyone who knew what happened previously would know the origin of the 2 heads. Even if they didn't know who they were, they would be able to guess it. What's more, who was the one who didn't know what was going on? If they really didn't know, would they be here to participate in the Dharma Assembly? The heads of the king of the Dai Nation and the great elder of the Dai Nation were placed on the offering table of the Dao sect patriarch as a tribute at the Grand Supreme Elder's Dharma observation meeting. Everyone who saw this scene gasped in their hearts. Of course, there were those who didn't gasp, but Dai Xiao didn't. He only looked at the 2 heads and cried in his heart. The dead king of Dai was Dai Zhao's father, his biological father. Although the relationship between the new great elder and him was not that close, the great elder still took good care of Dai Xiao. Now, Dai Xiao could only look on helplessly as the heads of his biological father and the great elder were placed on the sacrificial table. However, he could do nothing but watch. Dai Xiao did not even dare to think about seizing the 2 heads and bringing them back. Under the heavy guard of the Dai Nation royal palace, old ancestor Ling Su still managed to take off their heads just like that. All the guards were killed cleanly. This was an important place for the Dao sect. If he dared to have such thoughts, his head would be placed next to his father's head on the table. Therefore, when it was the guest's turn to salute the Dao sect's patriarch, Dai Xiao was more pious than the big shots of the other vassal states. She knelt twice as long as the others. Dai Li held back his laughter under the strange gazes of the people around him. Right now, Dai Gua couldn't withstand strong winds and waves, so he could only be a cowardly tortoise. But if the other vassals thought that Dai Gua was a pushover, Dai Xiao didn't mind letting them know Dai Gua's hidden strength. Thanks to the Dao sect's Dharma Assembly, it attracted the attention of the other vassal states. Perhaps in the eyes of the other feudal vassals, the Dai state was already a lamb waiting to be slaughtered, waiting for them to find a suitable position to cut it down. Unfortunately, they missed the best opportunity to eliminate the Dai state. This short period of half a month gave the Dai state a chance to take back all the hidden forces in the country. The elders of the Dai state hurried back to the Dai state. It was the same for the experts of the Dai state in a land of 1,000 extremities and a land of Mountain Yu. On the 5th day after the incident, there were thousands of young experts in the Dai state, all of whom were the new generation experts of the Dai clan who used to conceal their identities and called themselves rogue cultivators. Although the overall strength of these experts wasn't as strong as the original group of experts in the royal palace, the number of legendary realm experts alone was no less than the number of experts in the royal palace. What was more gratifying was that they were younger and had more potential. Their achievements in the future might be greater. The elders of the Dai state were united against a common enemy this time, so they didn't fight for the position of the patriarch. Of course, this wasn't a good position. Sitting on it would probably mean great danger and responsibility, as well as unimaginable humiliation. After pushing for a while, the elders naturally chose Dai Xiao, who had been appointed by the previous patriarch when he was still alive, as the new king and patriarch. The first thing the new patriarch did after ascending to the throne was to personally apologize to the Grand Supreme Lord Temple. If it was the Dai family in the past, they would never have done such a humiliating thing. However, Dai Xiao could only come over obediently now and didn't dare to say a word of rejection. The ceremony of the Dharma assembly was finally completed. Everyone took a deep breath and waited for the Grand Supreme Lord Temple to reveal its cards. The Grand Supreme Lord Temple represented the 6 sects of Tao, and his words made all the feudal vassals feel at ease. The 6 sects of Tao have no intention of fighting with all of you in the secular world. When the Grand Supreme Lord said this, many people let out a long sigh of relief. The 6 sects of Tao have no intention of fighting with all of you in the secular world. The Grand Supreme Lord's voice was very clear and reassuring. In the future, apart from pursuing the heavenly Tao passed down by the patriarch and exploring the essence of cultivation, there will be no impact on all of you. You don't have to worry. How could they not worry? Everyone thought to themselves. Fortunately, the Grand Supreme Lord said this publicly in front of so many people, which meant that the Tao sect wouldn't change its attitude. It was a good thing. Wouldn't the Tao sect change? Maybe not, but at least not right now. The only thing that would change was the attitude of all parties towards the Tao sect. Just as the Grand Supreme Lord said, the Tao sect was still the Tao sect. Patriarch Ling Su didn't suddenly jump out from a crack in a rock. He existed in the past and would exist for a long time in the future. However, didn't everyone always look down on the Tao sect? Did Patriarch Ling Su change? He didn't. He just did one more thing than before. It was just that he had the ability in the past, and everyone didn't know about it in the past. Who could they blame? Marquis Dai. The Grand Supreme Lord suddenly called out. Dai Xiao didn't dare to be negligent and hurriedly answered in unison. He walked to the front and obediently knelt before the Grand Supreme Lord. His expression and body movements didn't dare to show a trace of dissatisfaction. This matter is because of you, Marquis Dai, who instigated the experts of Shanyue to attack the 6 sects of Tao sect and attempted to steal our Tao sect's inheritance. You interfered with our Tao sect's inheritance ceremony first. The Grand Supreme Lord asked bluntly, "Do you accept this result, Marquis Dai? This matter is indeed my Marquis Dai's fault first." Dai Xiao was indeed someone who knew when to yield and when to stand tall. He knelt on the ground and kowtowed to the Grand Supreme Lord. "I, Marquis Dai, accept it wholeheartedly." Chapter 1123. Hearing the Grand Abbé Dean's question, Wang Shen couldn't help but want to laugh, but he held it in. Would Dai Xiao dare to be unconvinced now? The consequences of being unconvinced were laid out on the offering table in the hall not far away. As long as Dai Xiao wasn't a fool, he wouldn't say anything unconvinced. It was like parents educating their children. After beating them up, they still had to ask them if they were right and if they were convinced. Physical and mental suppression, material and spiritual civilization had to be strong. The Grand Abbé Dean looked at the kneeling Dai Xiao for a long while before saying, "Get up." Dai Xiao didn't dare to be slow. He got up as quickly as he knelt. "When you go back, bring their heads back and bury them together." The Grand Abbé Dean's voice softened a little as he said to Dai Xiao, "Thank you, Abbé Dean." Without saying a word, Dai Xiao knelt down again and kowtowed 3 times to the Grand Abbé Dean to express his gratitude. After expressing his gratitude, Dai Xiao didn't get up. Instead, he said loudly to the Grand Abbé Dean, "Abbé Dean, please allow me to report." The reason why Dai Xiao spoke so loudly was that his next words weren't only for the Grand Abbey Dean to hear, but also for everyone present. Shangyue country did develop to where it is today with the secret support of the Dai country. Dai Xiao smiled bitterly. But now, apart from the experts of the Dai country, who can occasionally use flying mounts, Shangyue country is no longer under our control. Bao Qing Yutang's Zhu Xingxing has complete control over Shangyue country. Dai Xiao mentioned Shangyue country at this time to completely separate Shangyue country from the Dai country, so that everyone wouldn't focus their hatred on the Dai country. On the other hand, he had the intention to complain about the grievances. According to Dai Xiao, the Dai country could no longer control Shangyue country. In that case, it was Zhu Xingxing's idea for the experts of Shangyue country to attack the Taoist sect master. The Dai country was convinced that the Taoist sect had suppressed the Dai country and didn't dare to question it. However, the Shangyue country that attacked the Taoist sect didn't suffer any damage. Ever since Zhu Xingxing was promoted as a divine envoy by the sect master of Tongxing country, he was basically a big shot in Shangyue country. Those barbarian experts only recognized the divine emissary, not others. They only listened to Zhu Xingxing's command and didn't care about others. Under such circumstances, even if Dai Guo wanted to control the Shangyue kingdom, he wouldn't be able to. In the later stages, Dai Guo actually wanted to let go. Unfortunately, they had invested too deeply in the early stages, so they couldn't retreat even if they wanted to. Now, Dai Xiao had revealed the current situation of Shangyue kingdom in front of the Dao sect master and the important figures of the other vassal states. She had completely severed the Dai kingdom from the Shangyue kingdom by making use of the heavy consequences of the king of the Dai kingdom, the Great Elder, and the destruction of the Dai royal palace. They were originally using each other, but now that they were separated, they had nothing to do with each other. Dai Zhao's display of weakness drew everyone's attention back to the Shangyue kingdom. How scheming! Wang Sheng hadn't shown himself all this while, but when he heard Dai Zhao's words, he couldn't help but praise her in his heart. Even those who were already dead could be used as flags by him to separate themselves from the Shangyue kingdom. Apart from that, Dai Xiao had successfully diverted the trouble. Since the Dao sect had taken revenge on Dai Xiao, why didn't they take revenge on the Shangyue kingdom? If the Dao sect didn't make their stance clear in front of so many representatives of the vassal states, they would definitely be labeled as unjust in the future. The Grand Abbey Dean was an astute person, so how could he be tricked by Dai Xiao? He smiled faintly and said casually, "The Dao sect will only punish the main culprit, not the bystanders. If the Shangyue kingdom offends us again, we will naturally find them." Dai Xiao wanted to say something more, but the Grand Abbey Dean only waved his hand lightly. Dai Xiao didn't dare to be presumptuous in front of the Grand Abbey Dean anymore. He kept all his words in his heart, kowtowed, stood up, and retreated back to where he was, not daring to say anything more. Next, the Grand Abbey Dean said a few more things. In summary, it was nothing more than that the Dao sect wouldn't cause trouble and wasn't afraid of trouble. With this attitude, he ended the Dharma assembly. Finally, all parties obtained a satisfactory result. The Dao sect was still the same Dao sect. They had no intention of entering the secular world to fight for hegemony. Moreover, he had said it in front of all parties, which made everyone feel at ease. It was fine as long as the Dao sect didn't participate. Otherwise, with the terrifying strength of the Dao sect, which king would be able to sleep? Next, all parties could do what they wanted to do boldly. All of a sudden, all parties realized that there were a few delicious prey. All of a sudden, they didn't know how to choose. The Shangyue kingdom was now under attack from all parties, the Dai kingdom was half dead, and the Xia kingdom was in trouble. Which one was the best prey? Which one would be the easiest to eat? That was a problem. However, this problem could only be decided after discussing with the respective kings. The most important thing now was to repair the relationship with the Dao sect and the Laojun temple. Why did all parties bring such valuable gifts? Wasn't it to build a good relationship with the Laojun temple? The Laojun temple didn't reject the goodwill of all parties. It accepted all of them, and, at the same time, gave a generous gift in return. When they left the Laojun Temple, all the other forces were smiling except for the Dai family. Wang Xing didn't leave immediately. Together with Mei he thanked the Grand Abbey Dean for helping to look after the future. At the same time, he didn't forget to invite the Grand Abbey Dean to attend another concert half a month later. The Grand Abbey Dean didn't let Wang Xing leave empty-handed. When he returned, there were at least 1,000 copied scrolls in Wang Xing's storage ring. All of them were brought back by Wang Xing and the old Taoist from the peerless treasures in the inner circle of the land of 1,000 devastations. Such a long time was enough for the old Taoist of the Qing generation of the Laojun Temple to copy all the scrolls and study a part of them. What made the Grand Abbey Dean and the others unhappy was that only 1/3 of the scrolls were for men to cultivate. The remaining 2/3 were for women to cultivate. There were less than 1/10 of the scrolls that didn't conflict with the Tao sect. These are suitable for women to cultivate. There are many women in your residence. Take them back. The Grand Abbey Dean and Wang Xing didn't stand on ceremony. Since they had already copied the scrolls, they didn't have to worry about sharing them. It's a pity that there aren't many female disciples in the Tao sect. There are indeed many exquisite martial arts in them. It's a pity indeed. Wang Xing also felt it was a pity that there weren't many people in the Laojun Temple who could cultivate so many cultivation techniques. By the way, Abbey Dean. Others didn't dare to ask the Grand Abbey Dean's true intentions, but Wang Xing didn't have to worry. He just asked whatever came to his mind. Are we really going to let the Shangyue kingdom go? This time, the Laojun Temple will take action against the Dai family. The Grand Abbey Dean smiled and replied to Wang Xing. A group of experts from the other 5 sects have already entered the Shangyue kingdom using the method you mentioned. Chapter 1124. That's more like it. Wang Xing thought that Taoism would never let Shangyue kingdom off. That's how it should be. The Grand Abbey Dean was well aware of the strategy of delaying and misleading the enemy. He said in front of so many people that he would only kill the ringleader and let the rest go. Before he finished his words, the masters of Haotian Taoism had already sneaked into the land of Shangyue. Shangyue kingdom was going to suffer. Wang Xing suddenly thought of the villagers in the suburbs of the capital city that Baoqin Yutang killed when he first showed his ferocious side. Or rather, Wang Xing had never forgotten it. That village belonged to the capital city. It was a small village that produced cosmetics for Runzi Workshop. There were only about 100 people in total. There were no experts in it. It could even be said that there were only a few cultivators. Baoqin Yutang's men killed them not because of any grudges, but purely to vent their anger. They could not hurt Wang Xing, so they could only vent their anger on a random villager. If there were grudges, it was understandable for them to fight and kill each other face to face. But if it was just to vent their anger, then Wang Xing could not accept it. If there are any new movements in Shangyue Kingdom, send some to me, Wang Xing said to the Grand Abbey Dean. The Grand Abbey Dean nodded in agreement. Back in the capital city, all parties resumed their peaceful lives. Of course, it was only limited to the capital city. Outside the capital, there was a tense atmosphere everywhere. Since Taoism had confirmed that they would not participate in the secular world hegemony, all parties were relieved and continued with their original plans to divide the Dai Kingdom, Xia Kingdom, and Shangyue Kingdom. When all parties turned their attention back, they were shocked to find that a large number of young experts had suddenly emerged in the Dai Kingdom in half a month. In the blink of an eye, the Dai Kingdom's national strength seemed to have returned to 70% or 80% of what it was a month ago. After investigation, they found out that the Dai Kingdom had pulled all the hidden young experts back to the Dai Kingdom. This also meant that the best opportunity to carve up the Dai nation was gone. All the vassal states regretted their actions. If they had known that the Tao sect had no intention to fight for hegemony in the secular world, they would have attacked the Dai state first. As long as they divided up the Dai nation, it would be meaningless no matter how many hidden experts the Dai clan had. Without a territory, wouldn't they be forced to wander? Such a great opportunity had been missed. While everyone was regretting, they also blamed themselves for their own judgment. The biggest mistake this time was not the appearance of the Tao sect, but the lack of attention and understanding of the Tao sect. If he had known that the Tao sect was so strong, he would have paid more attention to it. He would have been able to judge the Tao sect's decision. At that time, if they were to activate it in advance, they would definitely succeed in one go. But it was too late now. Since Daiguo was still around, then let him continue to exist. However, the Dai kingdoms ranking among the 8 feudal vassals had dropped from the middle to the bottom. They could only compete with the Xia kingdom and the Qiu kingdom for the last 3 places. Compared to the Dai kingdom, the Xia kingdom, which was being attacked by the Shangyue kingdom and countless assassins, seemed to be easier to deal with. Not to mention how much territory the Xia kingdom had lost, how many experts had been killed by the Shangyue kingdom. Just the number of experts who had been assassinated by the assassins of the 7th-stage realm and above had exceeded 300. Almost all the Godly Might prison and Carefree City had placed high bounties on the lives of the famous experts in the Xia kingdom. At the start, the scale wasn't very big, but later on, all the parties saw the opportunity and added fuel to the fire. Just the bounty placed on the Carefree City against the Xia kingdom had already exceeded 500 million gold coins. This didn't include the amount that was thrown into the Godly Might prison. To be honest, if they were to use less than 1 billion gold coins to buy the heads of all the experts in the Xia kingdom, they could easily divide the Xia kingdom among themselves. This was definitely a huge deal that countless people wanted to do. Once it was successful, the return would be 100 or 1,000 times higher. The big shots hurried back to their own territories to discuss which delicious prey to choose. Only the Song family's eldest young Miss Song Yin and her guard stayed in the capital. Over the past few days, other than sneaking around with Wang Sheng, eldest Miss Song had strolled around the capital city. It was impossible for her to visit the Qian Xinjuan Runzi workshop and the Dream workshop in the country of Song. As if to provoke Mei eldest Miss Song deliberately took away a few sets of the sexiest lingerie in the Dream workshop. In front of many supermodel beauties from Grandview Garden, she said that she wanted to wear it for her lover. The supermodels would naturally gather the news to Rosa. Since Rosa knew about it, Mayer naturally knew about it as well. Hearing Song Yan's provocation, Mayer was so angry that her lungs were about to explode. That night, Wang Sheng found out the consequences of Mayer's anger. "Duke, if I wear this lingerie or eldest young Miss Song's, which one looks better?" While Wang Sheng was relaxing in the bath, Mayer appeared in front of Wang Sheng in the sexiest lingerie of the same style as Song Yan's. Her coquettish face made Wang Sheng stare at her. "You look good." No matter how insensitive Wang Sheng was and how he didn't understand a girl's heart after being in the army, he knew what to say at this moment. If anyone dared to say that Song Yin was beautiful, they must have had their brains dug out and shit poured in. The lingerie was a sexy style. It was made of semi-transparent lace and was especially small. It only covered the areas that needed to be covered. On the outside, there was a thin gauze that became transparent when it was wet. In addition, Mayer had specially mimicked a model's catwalk as she walked over. Her long legs, slim waist, skin as white as snow, her lilac tongue lightly brushed past her red lips. The feeling was no less than that of the Victoria's Secret supermodels at the Victoria's Secret fashion show. Mayer was stimulated. The charm of an 8-stage, 2-tailed fox demon was brought into full play. The faint scent of her body was suddenly filled with an aphrodisiac smell. Wang Sheng simply couldn't resist it. These few days, Wang Sheng had been immersed in the land of tenderness. During the day, he had Song Yin, and at night, he had Rosa. Now that Mayer was acting like this, Wang Sheng was instantly tempted to the point of dizziness. Wang Sheng watched as Mayer walked up to him in such a flirtatious manner. She even extended her cherry lips and gave him a light peck on the lips. Wang Sheng felt as though his entire body was on fire. Don't think that he was still soaking in the bath. As long as Wang Sheng was willing, the water in the pool could evaporate in an instant. "Do you want it?" Mayer playfully asked in Wang Sheng's ear. "Yes," Wang Sheng replied honestly. "Then you can slowly think about it." Mayer's coquettish expression suddenly turned icy cold. She pressed Wang Sheng's head into the bath. "If you don't wash off the smell of eldest Miss Song, don't even think of touching me." Chapter 1125. All the important figures had left the capital for more than 10 days. Duke Changxing's residence had just sent out a message that there would be another concert at the Royal Grand Theater tomorrow night. However, it would be an audition of a new piece. It might not be very effective, so the tickets would not be sold. However, Duke Changxing's residence, Lao Juan's temple, and the emperor would definitely send someone to participate. Other than that, there would be Song Yin and her guards. This was also one of the reasons why Mei was so unhappy. Rosa kept explaining that the Duke organized this concert to help the sisters in Grandview Garden stabilize their cultivation. Letting Miss Song attend was just an invitation. However, Mei was still unhappy. Rosa naturally understood Mei's thoughts. This was actually a manifestation of her love for Wang Sheng. Although Mei seemed to understand everything, she still cared about Song Yan's level of love. Although they can't be together, she still has a place in the Duke's heart. Mei had told Rosa in private that this was the real reason why Mei was unhappy. Trust me, madam, you are definitely more important to the Duke than Miss Song. Rosa naturally knew how to persuade Mei. She stared at Mei's face and replied fervently. In Rosa's heart, Mei and Wang Sheng were equally important. Of course, Mei was very confident. She had absolute confidence in this. Then what are you worried about, madam? Rosa looked at Mei's face. She almost couldn't resist the urge to kiss her. Fortunately, Rosa had seen hundreds of supermodel beauties and was very close to them. She just wanted to see if she could control herself. There is actually another person in the Duke's heart. Speaking of this topic, Mei was obviously unhappy. That person is probably more important than me and Song Yin combined. It won't work even with you guys. Could be Carefree City's Aki? Rosa's face turned ashen. I'll send someone to kill her. Not her. Mei shook her head in disdain. She's just a little girl who doesn't know how to flirt. She's far from it. Even if there were 100 of her, she would not be able to challenge our position. If it was her, I wouldn't even care if she was intimate with the Duke in front of me. Who is that? Rosa asked curiously. If one were to carefully count the number of women who were intimate with the Duke, it would seem that other than Mei, Song Yin, and Aki, there was no one else. Could it be one of the sisters from the Grandview Garden? I don't know. Mei was in great pain. She closed her eyes. Her expression made Rosa feel extremely distressed. It was even more painful than when Wang Sheng was injured. That person must be very important to the Duke, but he has never mentioned her. Mei said somewhat sadly, I have a feeling that that person will be my greatest enemy in the future. If that's the case, then why do you have to be angry with that Song Yin? Mei's words were sad, and Rosa was sad as well. However, she still tried to make Mei feel better. At least she did not have to be angry now. Oh, I'll use her to practice, Mei said unconcernedly, in case she doesn't get jealous when the real enemy appears. Don't go overboard and push the Duke into someone else's arms for no reason. Rosa did not know whether to laugh or cry. She had been so worried that Mei would take things too hard, but in the end, it was because of this. Don't laugh. Mei turned to Rosa and reached out to wipe Rosa's pretty face. This is a secret book taught by Her Majesty. You have to learn it well. As soon as she said this, Mei hurriedly shook her head. But you can't be rude to the Duke like me. You just have to remember to be obedient to the Duke at all times. In the future, no matter who snatches the Duke, there will be a place for you by the Duke's side. Wang Sheng had no idea that he had become a tool for Mei to practice in order to resist her greatest rival in love in the future. Since he was released to experiment with new songs, Wang Sheng had to come up with some new songs to satisfy those great masters. The Spring Festival Overture was very happy, lively, and ethnic. It would not be too abrupt, so it could be performed. Just like Follow Fate, initial knowledge of Tai Chi was also the accompaniment of Tai Chi Zhang Sanfeng. It was very suitable. The old Taoist and the Taoists of Laojun Temple would definitely like it. The accompaniment of the Thunderbolt play, riding the horse into the forest, should also be able to make people feel excited. This was it. These 3 songs should be enough to satisfy those great grandmasters. As for the effect of cultivation, this time, Wang Sheng had already told the emperor and the Grand Abbey Dean that the main thing was to consolidate their cultivation. They should not choose those masters who were on the verge of breaking through. Even Song, Yin was reminded in the same way. The girls in the Grand Abbey Garden were a little impatient, so Wang Sheng needed them to consolidate their cultivation through the concert. It was not the consolidation of cultivation driven by the mass of spiritual energy, but purely with the help of music. It was the same for Song Yin. Mayor insisted on not meeting with Song Yin. Even if they had to participate in the same concert, they would deliberately not meet at the same time. The private room was also separated by the emperor's private room, so they would not meet easily. In Mayor's words, this was called "the king does not meet the king," so that the most awkward person would be Wang Sheng. When all the parties heard that there would be another great master concert in the royal theater, it was already too late to arrange anything. After chasing to Duke Chongqing's residence, Mayor directly asked people to decline the intention of buying tickets, according to Wang Sheng's words. Wang Sheng did not sell tickets, so there was nothing they could do. They could only watch as Wang Sheng led the girls in the Grand Abbey Garden to the royal theater. Of course, the appearance of the royal family and the Taoists was not surprising. Being in the capital, it was impossible not to give face to the emperor. In addition, Laojun Temple had just shown its extraordinary splendor not long ago. At this time, who would dare to doubt that Laojun Temple's participation was against the rules? Wang Sheng was now a disciple of Laojun Temple in name, so it was not a big deal to increase the benefits of his own sect. No one knew that Song Yin had only brought a few guards with her to the concert. There were only 2 private rooms and 10 people from the kingdom of Song, and all of them were Song Yan's guards. Wang Sheng also noticed that the guard around Song Yan had all been changed to women. In Song Yan's words, it was to prevent some heartless person from feeling uncomfortable when he saw that she had male guards protecting her. The concert was held as scheduled. As Wang Sheng took out the song late, even the great masters only rehearsed getting acquainted with Tai Chi. The rest were all old songs. Even so, this song made the old Taoist and the Taoists of Laojun Temple feel very comfortable. This was simply a song specially written for Taoism. It was too suitable. In contrast, the girls from Grand Abbey Garden and the royal family were not so sensitive to getting acquainted with Tai Chi. It was good to listen to and could stimulate their cultivation, but they did not feel as excited as the Taoists. As there was no audience that was on the verge of a breakthrough, the concert this time was unexpectedly short. Chapter 1126. In the past, as long as it was a great master's concert, the shortest one would be a day and a night, and the longest one would be a little more than 4 days, but less than 5 days. But this time, there were only 5 hours in total. 4.5 hours. There was no spiritual chi to temper the body, no large spiritual chi balls, and no collective sharing of cultivation experience. There was only a pure consolidation of their cultivation by everyone following the music. When it was time to end, everyone left in an orderly manner. Mayor and Song Yin still did not see each other. When they left, they did not discuss anything. However, they had a common understanding. The people who were watching thought that it would take a few days to see the concert end. In the end, before they were ready to go over, the concert had ended and people had left. This time, everyone was in a much better mood. It seemed that this was indeed a trial of new songs. Some songs might not be suitable for cultivation, so it was normal that no one advanced this time. Fortunately, no one sent anyone to participate. Otherwise, if they did not advance, they would have to pay 100,000 gold coins for each ticket. That would be too much of a loss. After the concert, Wang Sheng went to Song Yan's place again for a day. The two of them were entangled. At night, Wang Sheng was chased out again. When he returned to Chongsheng Duke's mansion, Wang Sheng thought that he would face the unhappy mayor again. Instead, he saw the radiant mayor waiting for Wang Sheng with a smile. Even though Wang Sheng still had the smell of Song Yan, this time, Mayor did not say anything. Together with Rosa, she helped Wang Sheng take a bath and accompanied Wang Sheng to eat. She looked very happy. Not only that, even Rosa, who had to wait on Wang Sheng every night, did not take the initiative to serve Wang Sheng tonight. She just lay quietly next to Wang Sheng and did not let Wang Sheng enjoy the pleasure of sex. The next morning, Wang Sheng got the answer. After Song Yin chased Wang Sheng away the previous day, she left the capital city with her guards overnight. She did not even stay for a single night. However, Mayer seemed to know this before Song Yin left. That was why she treated Wang Sheng so well. Women were really magical and mysterious creatures. Originally, Wang Sheng wanted to announce to the world that he and Mayer were getting married. After all, the Grand Abbey Dean had chosen a date, but Mayer had stopped him. I plan to give myself to you on that day. Mayer's reasoning was very strong. Even Wang Sheng could not understand it. However, I do not intend to let everyone know that the Duke is married. Why? Wang Sheng asked, puzzled. Are you unwilling? I've been dreaming about that day. Mayer nestled in Wang Sheng's arms, letting Wang Sheng hug her comfortably. She reached out a hand to caress Wang Sheng's face. Her eyes were blissful and blurred as she said, "But I don't want to marry you just like that. I want to wait." "What are you waiting for?" Wang Sheng still didn't answer. "I'm waiting for you to forget the person in your heart." Mayer's eyes seemed to be a little red, but she still said what was on her mind. "I know that you might never forget it, but I still want to try. I still want to wait and see." Wang Sheng couldn't help but tighten his grip, making Mayer feel a little uncomfortable. Wang Sheng sensed it in time and quickly loosened his grip. Although she didn't agree to get married, Mayer still happily prepared for it. Looking at her appearance, it was clear that she was preparing for that day as the wedding date. Except for not sending wedding invitations and not entertaining everyone, Mayer was preparing everything that a newlywed should have, and she was preparing very happily. Looking at Mayer like this, Wang Sheng felt very uncomfortable. However, could Wang Sheng give up looking for the girl in his dream? If he could give up, Wang Sheng would not be Wang Sheng. The gentler Mayer and Rosa were, the better they treated Wang Sheng. Wang Sheng had an evil fire in his heart that he wanted to vent. "You haven't been in a good state recently." The old Taoist had been holding back until now to ask this question that he had been holding back for a long time. "What happened? What did you get from the patriarch's inheritance?" Ever since he received the inheritance from the Taoist patriarch, Wang Sheng's behavior had been a little off. Other than knowing that Wang Sheng had upgraded the 5-word formula to the 6-word formula, the old Taoist knew nothing else. The changes in Wang Sheng were also very obvious. During that period of time, Wang Sheng was very indulgent. In the day, he was with Song Yin, and at night, he was with Rosa. However, Wang Sheng and Song Yin had an affair long ago, and it was also the old Taoist who guarded the door for them. He had also had sex with Rosa many times. It seemed very normal, and there was nothing wrong with it. If it was someone else, they would definitely think that Wang Sheng was tired of dealing with both sides and wanted to please them, which was why he was so exhausting himself. However, the old Taoist knew that was not the case. Wang Sheng was definitely not a person who did not know how to control himself. However, it was obvious that Wang Sheng had spent too much time with women, which was not normal. After thinking about it, the only problem was that Wang Sheng had comprehended something else from the Taoist patriarch's inheritance. The way of nature, the balance of yin and yang. Wang Sheng said these 2 words to the old Taoist, and then he said frankly, "The patriarch's inheritance has allowed my primordial soul to meet the requirements to upgrade, but I still want to suppress it. This time, the change in my primordial soul is a little intense, and I can't help but have the urge to attack." This time, the change in his primordial soul was the Yazi transformation. The Yazi was a dragon that was best at fighting, and killing was basically its instinct. Therefore, even though Wang Sheng had killed so many people in the Dai Kingdom's palace, he still could not suppress the killing intent in his heart. "Haven't you killed enough in the Dai Kingdom's palace?" The old Taoist frowned and couldn't help but ask. "It's not a question of whether it's enough or not." Wang Sheng shook his head. "No matter how many people I killed, I haven't killed the one I want to kill the most. If that person doesn't die, my heart will not be at ease." Speaking of this, Wang Sheng also realized what the problem was. He used a title in a web novel on Earth to describe it. "My thoughts are not clear enough, so I'm not feeling good." "Then go and kill." The old Taoist didn't care who Wang Sheng wanted to kill the most. Without saying anything, he frowned and said, "Go and kill him, so that your thoughts are clear. Do you want to have a good relationship with Mayor like this? Go now." "All right." Wang Sheng nodded and stood up. "Tell Mayor that I'm going." After saying that, Wang Sheng went straight out of the mansion without looking back. He didn't even bother saying goodbye to Mayor and Rosa. "Girl, do you know who that kid wants to kill the most?" The old Taoist found Mayor, repeated Wang Sheng's words, and asked Mayor. "Probably." Mayor thought about it, raised her head, and answered. "Who is it?" The old Taoist asked curiously. "You definitely won't expect it," Mayor replied with a smile. "It's Bao Qing Yutang Zhu Xingxing." Chapter 11:27. The old Taoist hadn't expected this. He had always thought that the one Wang Sheng wanted to kill the most was the one who had hurt him the most, or the one he hated the most. For example, someone from the Dai clan, someone from the Song clan, or even someone from Victorious Return. Ever since the old Taoist had met Wang Sheng, he had fought countless battles. The number of people who had died in Wang Sheng's hands was uncountable. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that he had enemies all over the world. But the one Wang Sheng wanted to kill the most wasn't these enemies, but Bao Qing Yutang Zhu Xingxing. The old Taoist could be considered to be someone who understood Wang Sheng's character, but he didn't understand it as well as Mayer. Now that Mayer mentioned it, the old Taoist also understood a little. Zhu Xingxing hadn't directly attacked Wang Sheng, but he had killed a villager in the suburbs of the capital to vent his anger. Those villagers were absolutely innocent. It could only be said that Zhu Xingxing or his son had taken out their anger on them, causing their misfortune. As the old Taoist thought, if he directly targeted Wang Sheng would be angry and retaliate. But this was considered a normal life for Wang Sheng, so Wang Sheng could accept it. However, because it wasn't appropriate to target himself, he had to target innocent villagers. This was something Wang Sheng couldn't accept. This was also a knot in Wang Sheng's heart. For so long, Wang Sheng had never explicitly stated that he would target Zhu Xingxing. The old Taoist thought that Wang Sheng didn't take it to heart at all, but it turned out that Wang Sheng had always had this knot in his heart. Let Wang Sheng personally solve this knot in his heart. It would only be good for Wang Sheng's cultivation. As for how Wang Sheng would do it, the old Taoist Ling Su wouldn't participate. If the old Taoist participated, perhaps Wang Sheng's knot wouldn't be completely untied. Some things could only be done by oneself. It couldn't be done by others. Mayer, arrange a quiet place for me. I'm going to go into seclusion. The old Taoist understood Wang Sheng's intention, so he directly asked Mayer to arrange a place for him. "I want to strengthen my Taoism's void meditation technique as a gift for you." Of course, Mayer knew what the old Taoist strengthened void mind cultivation method was for. She was overjoyed and said nothing. She personally arranged the best room in Duke Chongqing's mansion. Then, she told the surrounding people to be quiet so that the old Taoist could go into seclusion. After arranging the old Taoist, Mayer was really looking forward to it. She thought that Wang Sheng would go out to kill people in high spirits and then come back to take her. She couldn't help but feel shy. Of course, Mayer was a little worried about Wang Sheng, but not to the point where she couldn't control herself. Didn't the old Taoist not worry that Wang Sheng couldn't do it? That meant that Wang Sheng could definitely do it. Of course, in Mayer's heart, there seemed to be nothing that Wang Sheng couldn't do. To kill Zhu Xingxing, he definitely needed Zhu Xingxing's information. In fact, the best way for Wang Sheng now was to find the emperor. The royal family now had a detailed summary of information about all parties. Finding the royal family should be the easiest way. However, Wang Sheng didn't go to the royal family, because once he went to the emperor to ask for Zhu Xingxing's information, the emperor would definitely ask Wang Sheng about it. If he knew that Wang Sheng wanted to kill Zhu Xingxing, the emperor would definitely try to stop Wang Sheng. The current situation was the most advantageous for the royal family. The royal family would definitely not be willing to break the balance. Letting Shan Yue consume the experts of other countries and everyone fight to the death was the most in the royal family's interest. If Wang Sheng killed Zhu Xingxing, it wouldn't be a good thing for the royal family. If the experts of other countries couldn't be consumed in large amounts, the royal family's advantage wouldn't be reflected. Therefore, the emperor would definitely try to stop Wang Sheng. Exchange code, Tung Fi. Wang Sheng already had an indomitable determination to kill Zhu Xingxing. As for the possible obstruction, Wang Sheng directly ignored it. If the royal family couldn't get help, there was still Carefree City. In Carefree City, it was very easy to buy information about Zhu Xingxing. Along the way out of the city, many people saw Wang Sheng's actions. However, this time, no one dared to set up an ambush on the road. On one hand, Wang Sheng and old Taoist Ling Su had killed 45 legend rank experts of the Gan family. In addition, the two of them had joined forces to destroy the Dai Kingdom's palace. Everyone knew about this. No one dared to bet their lives that the place they lived in was safer than the Dai Kingdom's palace. On the other hand, Wang Sheng left the city and went straight to the land of Thousand Despair. In such a short period of time, no one could make a decision quickly and make corresponding arrangements. Moreover, as long as Wang Sheng entered the land of Thousand Despair, if anyone dared to have any ideas about Wang Sheng, they would really be tired of living. After entering the land of Thousand Despair easily, Wang Sheng went straight to Carefree City. It was worth mentioning that the route that Wang Sheng took to enter the land of Thousand Despair was the route that Baoqin Yutang had taken. He passed by the village that was massacred. It only took 10 days for Wang Sheng to reach Carefree City. When he entered Carefree City again, Wang Sheng was in a different mood. The last time he left, it was to avoid conflict with Uncle Li. Now, the mayor of Carefree City had sent someone to find Rosa to apologize to Wang Sheng. The change in the situation was really indescribable. The old people in Carefree City had not seen Wang Sheng for a long time. When they saw Wang Sheng enter the city quietly, their eyes lit up. No one in the city would dare to make a move on Wang Sheng. Wang Sheng entered the city from the land of Thousand Despair, which was the direction where the inner city was located. Everyone was pleasantly surprised. Since Wang Sheng was here, something big must have happened. If they could seize the opportunity, even if they could not make it in time to get rich, it would still be easy for them to collect some rewards from the Hall of Assassins. Wang Sheng went straight to Wang Sheng's mansion in Carefree City. He thought that Aki would be there, but it turned out that she was not there. Seventh Madam went to the Hall of Assassins early in the morning and has yet to return. The two maidservants who were stationed in Carefree City were still the same. When they saw Wang Sheng, they were naturally overjoyed. They welcomed him with joy and served him passionately. When they heard Wang Sheng ask about Aki, they hurriedly told him about Aki's whereabouts. Wang Sheng did not ask why Aki went to the Hall of Assassins. Recently, many people were holding the heads of the Xia family's experts to collect rewards. Even if Aki were to look, she would be happy, right? After resting for a while, it was almost evening. Wang Sheng finally waited for Aki to return. However, looking at Qi's expression, he seemed to be very excited. What happened? Wang Sheng waited for Aki to enter the door and asked with concern. "Do?" When she saw Wang Sheng, Aki was clearly stunned. She was at a loss. In the end, she thought about it and walked in front of Wang Sheng to greet him. "You don't have to be so polite." Wang Sheng reached out and held Aki's small hand. He asked again, "What happened?" "Do?" When Wang Sheng held her small hand, Aki panicked for a while. Then, she quickly calmed down and tears flowed down her cheeks. "Duke, I found my younger brother." When she finished speaking, Aki could no longer hold back her surging emotions. She threw herself into Wang Sheng's arms and burst into tears. Chapter 1128. If the knot in Wang Sheng's heart was that Zhu Xingxing and his son had killed over 100 villagers to vent their anger when they left the capital city, then the knot in Aki's heart was her younger brother, who was separated from her since she was a child and used to control Aki. In order to find her younger brother, Aki almost used all her means. Not only did she invest all her savings, but she also invested over 10 million gold coins that Wang Sheng had given her. She didn't have any gold coins left. She offered a reward for information and the lives of the masters of the Xia family. She used all kinds of methods. Today, she finally got the definite news. In order to find her younger brother, Aki spent more than 10 years. How could Aki not be excited when she heard the news suddenly? Today, Aki really couldn't control herself. She found out that the news of her reward in the early morning in the assassin's hall. Then, she waited for the guy who received the reward in the afternoon. Then, she got the specific news from him. That guy was from Xia, so he was very familiar with Xia. The reward for Aki was big enough for him to work hard for half a year. However, he had to rely on the changing situation recently to get the news. During this period, the Xia family was troubled by both internal and external troubles. They almost couldn't hold on anymore. Wang Sheng offered a huge reward for the lives of the masters of the Xia family in Godly Might Prison. Shangyue State attacked Xia desperately to relieve the pressure on Dai State. All parties took the opportunity to hit them when they were down. It was not an exaggeration to say that they were badly battered. Just a month ago, the Dai State seemed to be unable to hold on any longer. However, when everyone's attention was diverted to the spell meeting of the Laojun Temple and they were waiting for the Taoist sect to express their stance, the Dai State, which the various vassal states thought was already a meat on the chopping board, suddenly recovered its vitality rapidly. It escaped from the brink of extermination and became one of the 8 vassal states again. Although its ranking dropped a lot, it didn't have to worry about being destroyed anymore. Exchange code ZZ7XK4. At this moment, a huge pressure directly pressed down on Xia. Although the state of Qiu was attacked by the Shangyue state in the early stages, after the Tang state joined in, the pressure on the state of Qiu was directly reduced to a safe level. In particular, the Shangyue kingdom was attacking the Xia kingdom with all its might, and the Xia kingdom had lost many cities. Under such circumstances, the Xia kingdom, one of the 8 great vassal states, was on the brink of destruction. In an instant, he had become a fat piece of meat in the eyes of all the vassal states. The higher-ups of Cathay naturally knew where the danger lay. With Victorious Return as an example, Cathay hadn't even finished digesting Victorious Return's territory, and now they had become a target. In order to avoid the crisis of the destruction of the country, the king of the Xia country discussed with the elders and quickly came up with a response. How to deal with it? In fact, Daigua had already set an excellent example. It was nothing more than exposing the strength that had been hidden in the dark before, greatly increasing the strength of the country, and no longer having to worry about the country being destroyed. Could there be a simpler and more brutal method? The Dai Kingdom had secretly trained experts and had hidden strength. Could it be that the Xia Kingdom, which was also one of the 8 feudal vassals, didn't have it too? What a joke! After the spell conference, batch after batch of young experts appeared in Cathay one after another. Outsiders didn't know where these experts had been trained, but each and every one of them was extremely powerful. Even though Cathay had already lost over 1,000 experts, after half a month of continuous reinforcements, the number of experts in Cathay had even exceeded their previous losses. If one had to point out a disadvantage, it would be that these young experts were on average half a realm lower than the old experts. Their overall strength was slightly inferior, but it was more than enough to stabilize the situation in Cathay. Aki's younger brother was among this group of young experts that had suddenly appeared. What surprised Aki even more was that her younger brother was one of the young experts that Cathay was focusing on nurturing. From the person who had delivered the information, Aki learned that her younger brother's cultivation talent was extremely outstanding. His source spirit was also an extremely high-grade 9-star source spirit, much higher than the 6-star source spirit that Aki possessed. Cathay attached great importance to her younger brother and focused on nurturing him. They had poured in a large amount of resources and even nurtured him as a commander of a high-level leadership team. Now, Aki's younger brother was the leader of the experts stationed in a city in Cathay. He was in the legend realm and had hundreds of experts under him. He had a high status and was very impressive. Finally, she received news of her younger brother. Not only was her younger brother not bullied, but he was also focused on nurturing and had a boundless future. Aki's heart was so happy that she didn't know how to describe it. Wang Sheng was beside her, and Aki couldn't help but cry in Wang Sheng's arms. releasing all the emotions that she had accumulated over the years. Wang Sheng had been gently hugging Aki until she had released all the grievances, worries, and anger in her heart. Only then did he reach out and carry Aki to sit on his lap. Now you don't have to worry about the Xia family using your younger brother's life to threaten you, right? Wang Sheng smiled and asked Aki, who was still wiping away her tears. With Aki's younger brother's current status, the Xia family couldn't wait to protect him. How could they use him to threaten a death warrior that they had already given away as a gift? However, this was based on the fact that Aki knew about it. If Aki was still unaware of it like before, the Xia family would definitely continue to use Aki's younger brother's life to threaten Aki and make Aki work for the Xia family. Are you sure that person is your younger brother? Wang Sheng suddenly thought a question. If this information wasn't accurate, then Aki would have been happy for nothing. According to that person's description, it's very similar. Aki was only happy to hear the news, but she didn't further verify it herself. When she heard Wang Sheng's question, she answered honestly. Rest for a few days. When the Xia family situation is stable, go take a look and verify it yourself. Wang Sheng let out a long sigh and instructed Aki. Aki obviously didn't understand what Wang Sheng meant by the Xia family stability. She thought that the Xia family would be stable after they had so many experts and didn't have to worry about the country being destroyed. Okay, Aki was in a good mood. She was originally submissive to Wang Sheng. Now that Wang Sheng's order was exactly what she wanted, how could she object? After comforting Aki, Wang Sheng watched as Aki happily prepared dinner for him with the two maids. He felt happy for Aki. If it was true, it could be said that Aki had gotten rid of a huge burden. Not long after Aki left Wang Sheng's embrace, Wang Sheng received a notice that the city lord's butler had come to visit. It was as if the butler had come at the right time. Hurry up and invite him in. Wang Sheng was in a good mood. Even his voice was filled with joy. Chapter 1129. Duke. The butler's voice could be heard even before the butler entered. Brother, if you call me Duke again, let's break off our friendship, Wang Sheng said with a chuckle. The two of them were already chatting with each other even before they met. Brother. The butler changed his form of address without hesitation. Then, he saw Wang Sheng come into the door to welcome him. Brother. Wang Sheng also greeted him with a smile. Then, the two of them burst into laughter. Amidst the laughter, the two of them cupped their hands in greeting and entered the living room of Wang Sheng's residence. Of course, this courtyard couldn't be compared to the Changsheng Duke residence in the capital city. However, although it was small, it had all the essentials. There were 3 entrances, the living room, the middle hall, and the backyard. How could the butler not know that Wang Sheng had entered the city for so long? Perhaps even the city lord knew about it. Since he came at this time, it meant that he had a deep understanding of Wang Sheng and Aki. He even knew a lot about what Aki wanted to know today. Brother, you haven't been back for a long time. It's good that you're back. It's good that you're back. As soon as the butler opened his mouth, he spoke in an intimate manner. He was smiling as if he was a neighbor's brother who had come to visit. I just happened to have something to do, so I came back. Wang Sheng was also smiling. No one could tell that there was a little bit of unhappiness between Wang Sheng and the worry-free city. Brother, can you help? Upon hearing that Wang Sheng had something to do, the butler immediately asked if he could help. Of course. Wang Sheng smiled. I just want to find out more about Zhu Xingxing's side and hear about his recent movements. He came to the worry-free city to gather information. Was there anyone more suitable than the butler of the city lord? In fact, Wang Sheng didn't even need to spend gold coins to ask for information from him. Instead, he would get more detailed information than the average person. That's easy. I'll send it to you tomorrow morning. Sure enough, just as Wang Sheng expected, the butler agreed without hesitation. He didn't even ask why Wang Sheng wanted this information. After drinking a cup of tea, the butler left without even eating dinner. Apart from Wang Sheng asking for some information, the two of them didn't say anything else. They were basically exchanging pleasantries. Whether it was cultivation or the various wars, he didn't mention anything. What he talked about the most was the wine business that Wang Sheng's imperial treasury and the lord of Carefree City had done together. The butler was very familiar with how many gold coins they had earned and how many they had earned in each place. Wang Sheng knew very well that Brother Butler was expressing his attitude on behalf of the city lord. Everyone was still in a cooperative relationship, and there was no need to worry about Uncle Li. At least for now, Uncle Li was no longer a problem. It was obvious that the city lord had suppressed Uncle Li and gained the upper hand. As for whether or not the city lord would kill Uncle Li, Wang Sheng didn't even need to think with his toes to know that it was impossible. How could the city lord destroy himself? He was not a fool who would kill his own master in order to fight for power and profit. Until it was time to sleep at night, Aki was happy and excited. She even took the initiative to lie next to Wang Sheng in her underwear. However, that was all. It seemed that she had not made up her mind to give everything to Wang Sheng. Of course, Wang Sheng did not have the idea of touching Aki at this time. Just like that, she hugged Chi, who was only wearing underwear, and slept soundly. Since Wang Sheng cultivated the 9 words incantation to the 6 words formula, he never had a bad sleep. On the other hand, Aki was so happy that she couldn't control herself the whole night. Unfortunately, she couldn't toss and turn because she was hugged by Wang Sheng. She could only maintain that position and curl up in Wang Sheng's arms, unable to fall asleep. However, even though she couldn't fall asleep, Aki's heart was much calmer. Even when she was in Wang Sheng's arms, she felt much happier. Early in the morning, Wang Sheng woke up on time, cultivated, and slowly ate his breakfast. After breakfast, the housekeeper once again arrived at Wang Sheng's residence on time. This is the latest information about Zhu Xingxing. The housekeeper brought a record book that was at least a foot thick to Wang Sheng. Ever since Qian Xingyuan introduced high-quality and cheap ordinary paper, the number of scrolls used in various places had greatly decreased. Instead, they used Qian Xingyuan's ordinary paper to record things. This was much cheaper than using demon bee skin to make scrolls. Moreover, it was light, thin, and could record more information. Carefree City wasn't an exception. Where did you get this information? Wang Sheng didn't rush to flip through the book. Instead, he asked the housekeeper about the source of the information. Sometimes the source was very important. It would decide whether Wang Sheng would use the information recorded in the book. I got it from the people who did business with Zhu Xingxing. The housekeeper didn't hide the source and quickly revealed it. Speaking of which, Zhu Xingxing was indeed the owner of Bao Qing Yutang. His love of doing business was simply engraved in his bones. Even after becoming the ruler of Shanyue Kingdom, he didn't forget the roots of his business. Shanyue Kingdom was very secluded. If it was just the Shanyue Kingdom of the past, the products inside would be enough for the barbarians to live and cultivate. However, the problem was that it was no longer the Shanyue Kingdom of the past. It was now a Shanyue Kingdom with countless experts. Its strength was comparable to the 8 vassal states. Even though the emperor of Shanyue Kingdom had never admitted it, his strength was undeniable. At this time, the output of the Shanyue Kingdom was not enough. Even with the large number of materials that the Bao Qingji Hall had transferred, the Shanyue Kingdom had captured several cities of Xia Kingdom and a large warehouse of Ningyue Kingdom in Xia Kingdom. The situation was still the same. At this time, Shanyue Kingdom could only obtain what it needed through commercial means. The various vassal states definitely wouldn't dare to have a relationship with Shanyue Kingdom. Even if they were willing to, Shanyue Kingdom probably wouldn't dare to believe them. It wasn't easy for them to have Dai State. Now, because of Dai Xiao, they had lost contact with Shanyue Kingdom. With no other choice, Zhu Xingxing could only exchange information through some of the people in Carefree City. Only the people in Carefree City who had their heads tied to a belt would dare to do business with Zhu Xingxing. As long as they were doing business, they had to have contacts. Gradually, some of Zhu Xingxing's information was sold at a high price by these people. This is reliable enough. Wang Sheng smiled and nodded. The information obtained through this channel was reliable enough to be used. Brother, what do you want Zhu Xingxing's information for? The housekeeper asked casually. Then, he asked another question. Do you need help? No need. I alone am enough. Wang Sheng smiled. He answered the second question first before answering the first one. It's useful, of course. I'm going to kill him. Chapter 1130. The butler left with doubts in his mind. He had studied Zhu Xingxing's intelligence. According to the information he had now, it wouldn't be easy for Wang Sheng to kill Zhu Xingxing. In fact, Zhu Xingxing has been living in Ningyue City for a long time. This city that was unexpectedly taken from the hands of Xia country was simply unexpectedly good. First of all, Ningyue City was originally built as the second capital of the country, so everything was good. In particular, there were a lot of resources stored here. Once the capital of Xia was captured, Ningyue City would be used as the capital and provide enough war resources. Just seizing Ningyue City would save at least 5 years of development time for Shangyue State. The abundance of resources could be imagined. Exchange code JY68F6. In addition, Ningyue City was well known for being easy to defend and difficult to attack. It occupied the highest terrain in the surrounding area and occupied a commanding position. It was impossible to capture it without 5 times the number of experts defending the city. Shangyue State had to rely on the surprise of the flying demonic beasts and the sudden attack to capture it. After the capture, Zhu Xingxing made a more powerful transformation of Ningyue City. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to describe the current Ningyue City as impregnable. If old Taoist Ling Su participated, there might be a chance to kill Zhu Xingxing. However, it had to be done without Zhu Xingxing knowing. Otherwise, once Zhu Xingxing was alarmed, he could ride on a flying mount and escape at any time. No matter how powerful the people on the ground were, they wouldn't be able to catch up. Of course, Wang Sheng had a heavy sniper crossbow that could kill people from miles away. It might work, but unless they knew exactly which flying mount Zhu Xingxing was on, how could they know Zhu Xingxing's position when more than a dozen flying mounts were flying together? In addition, it was impossible to snipe from the ground. It wasn't that there was no suitable time to snipe. On the contrary, there were plenty of opportunities. Because Zhu Xingxing had been in power recently, he would worship the heavens on the highest platform of Ningyue City every 10 days. Once every 10 days, he would not be shaken by anything to prove that he was the oracle. However, even from several miles away, it was impossible to kill Zhu Xingxing, because the platform was 300 feet long and 300 feet wide. It was the highest point within 100 miles of Ningyue City. If Zhu Xingxing were to stand in the center of the altar, no one within 100 miles would be able to see him from any direction or angle, except on the altar itself. He couldn't even see a shadow. Even if he had the ability to kill from 100 miles away, so what? At the end of the day, the heavy sniper crossbow was still a crossbow, not a flying sword that could behead someone from 1,000 miles away. Although he wasn't optimistic about Wang Sheng, the butler didn't say anything. Wang Sheng was a person who could repeatedly create some unimaginable miracles, which made him not dare to make a decisive judgment. What if Wang Sheng succeeded? In the end, it was the butler brother who brought Wang Sheng's purpose to the city lord and let the city lord make a decision. Wang Sheng didn't stay in worry-free city for long. After spending a whole day studying the information sent by the butler brother, Wang Sheng had basically established a plan in his heart. Then he said goodbye to Aki. Because he didn't go through the assassin hall, except for the city lord and the butler brother, no one knew what Wang Sheng's goal was. Wang Sheng quietly came from the Thousand Extremities, and then quietly left, leaving countless people who wanted to inquire about him, sighing helplessly. Zhu Xingxing had been inflated recently in Ningyue City. The identity of the oracle allowed him to have hundreds of followers in the barbarian tribe. Although he didn't have the title of a king, he had the power of king. After taking down the Xia family, Zhu Xingxing even had an illusion that the Xia family would soon cease to exist. Unfortunately, the Dai family decisively drew a line, and then the sudden emergence of an expert from the Xia family made Zhu Xingxing's plan fall through. It was like a blow to the head, calming down the fanatical Zhu Xingxing. The Dai family's action could be said to have made the Shangyue country stand on the opposite side of the 8 feudal vassals. Zhu Xingxing also understood that even with the advantage of flying demonic beasts, he might not be able to resist the joint attack of the 8 feudal vassals. Not to mention the Shan country, which had been managed for 100 years. Even the emperor was obediently hiding in the capital city. Going against the 8 feudal vassals was simply courting death. It was already too late for him to stop now. Zhu Xingxing was waiting for the arrival of a thunderous blow. He had already arranged an escape route for his son and his most trusted subordinates. Once something happened to him, Zhu Xiaodong and his trusted subordinates would leave decisively and bring a large number of treasures to a remote place to become a rich man. From then on, they would live in seclusion, without any worries. Zhu Xingxing's fighting spirit was aroused by the pressure from all sides. Did they really think that the Shanhua country was easy to bully? Although it was hard to say what the final result would be, Zhu Xingxing was confident that the Shanhua country would not end well. The feudal vassals would also bleed, just like the Dai family and the Xia family. Even if they didn't have to worry about the destruction of their country, they would be forced to expose all their hidden forces. Everyone was watching, waiting for someone to take the lead and launch the first attack. However, everyone knew that the Shanhua country was not to be trifled with. Once they were bitten, they would suffer heavy losses no matter what. No one was willing to be the vanguard, and the situation miraculously stabilized. Zhu Xingxing habitually got out of bed and cultivated. Under the huge pressure, he, a businessman over 60 years old, was forced to start paying attention to cultivation. Fortunately, the surrounding servants were all barbarians. They treated Zhu Xingxing as the omnipotent Lord Oracle and served him very well. There was no need to worry about their betrayal. Today was the day of worship. Zhu Xingxing put on the clothes of the god's emissary with the help of a few barbarian maids. He watched the sun rise to a suitable position. Then, he walked through the passage formed by a group of barbarians who were kneeling in worship and stepped onto the highest altar. In the center of the altar was a huge offering table. On top of it were several human heads, as well as a few demon beast heads. Those were the offerings. The barbarians' worship to the heavens had never been peaceful. It was just that the human heads were not from their own side. A few flying demon beasts began to patrol the surroundings to ensure that no one would disturb the Lord Oracle's worship to the heavens. At an altitude of 30,000 meters, where no one could see, Wang Sheng was sitting on the back of heavy snow. He kept using the 6-word formula to communicate with heavy snow silently. Heavy snow descended quietly, descending below the clouds and gliding close to them. Wang Sheng took out his scope and began to observe. Zhu Xingxing's worship to the heavens should be around this time. When Wang Sheng saw Zhu Xingxing appear on the altar through his scope, Wang Sheng knew that it was time to act. Chapter 11:31. After determining the direction, Wang Sheng used the 6-words formula to tell heavy snow to rise higher. Wang Sheng flew to about 30,000 meters before he determined the direction and distance again and made the final preparations on heavy snow's back. Do you believe that I can also fly? Wang Sheng and heavy snow communicated tacitly through the 6-words formula. You don't believe it? Wang Sheng seemed to be talking to himself. Then I'll show you how I fly. After saying this, Wang Sheng shouted at heavy snow and jumped down from heavy snow's back. Big Snow cried out as well. Following Wang Sheng's body, it plunged headfirst into the ground. In the air, Wang Sheng kept his body straight. His arms and legs were not open. He fell head first and feet first. Wang Sheng and the old Taoist had done this many times, and they could break the speed of sound every time. With Wang Sheng's current cultivation, he could resist the cold and lack of oxygen at this height, even without any protection. The explosion when breaking the sound barrier was simply a massage for Wang Sheng. Descending rapidly to a height of about 10,000 meters, the air was much denser and Wang Sheng's speed slowed down. At this time, it was a free fall. Because of the wind resistance, Wang Sheng's descending speed was even faster than heavy snow. Heavy Snow had to flap his wings a few more times to catch up with Wang Sheng. It was not until he went through the clouds that Wang Sheng stretched his body. He opened his arms and legs, and the speed of his descent suddenly decreased sharply. In just over 10 seconds, he was gliding smoothly. What Wang Sheng was wearing at the moment was the gliding suit made by Wang Sheng with the skin of an 8th-stage demon beast, which was also known as the flying squirrel suit. Gliding suit was an extreme sport on Earth that was far more dangerous than parachuting and gliding wings. Under normal circumstances, the gliding ratio was only 2.5:1. At a speed of more than 130 kilometers, gliding all the way from the air to the ground made it a challenge game for a few extreme enthusiasts. And now, Wang Sheng's speed had far exceeded 130 kilometers. According to Wang Sheng's estimation, it was at least 400 kilometers, which had already exceeded the speed of sound. And we didn't decelerate just now. The speed was even faster, probably at least more than 800 kilometers. Fortunately, Wang Sheng's flying squirrel suit was made of the 8th-stage demon beast skin, which was extremely tough, so it could withstand the deceleration force at this speed. Wang Sheng wore goggles, and his vision had been adjusted to the strongest. His eyes were only staring at Ning Yuecheng, who was thousands of meters ahead. He adjusted his direction all the way, getting lower and lower, but maintaining a speed of more than 400 kilometers. This speed still exceeded the speed of sound, and even heavy snow couldn't catch up with him. However, after Wang Sheng descended below the clouds, heavy snow no longer descended, but continued to fly forward above the clouds. Zhu Xingxing was worshipping the heavens, but except for those masters who were in charge of guarding, the other barbarians were all kneeling on the ground, so they couldn't see the situation in the sky at all. There were many flying demon beasts and masters patrolling around, but their attention was focused on the ground. They were defending against the enemies who attacked from the ground, so they didn't think about the sky at all. In the sky, in addition to the flying demon beasts of Shanyue Kingdom, there were also a few small vassal states who had 3 flying mounts. With their national power, they didn't dare to provoke Shanyue Kingdom. Therefore, there was no threat in the sky at all. Under the general mentality of the people of Shanyue Kingdom, Wang Sheng quickly approached the altar from the sky. The flying squirrel suit was specially designed by Wang Sheng. The bottom was light blue, and if one didn't pay attention, they would easily blend in with the sky and not notice it at all. As for the sound, Wang Sheng didn't have to worry about the sound of his flight being heard by the enemy, because Wang Sheng was flying faster than the sound. Before the masters of Shanyue Kingdom heard the sound, Wang Sheng had already arrived. Controlling the flying squirrel suit, Wang Sheng easily adjusted his direction, staring at the human figure that was the size of a grain of rice. Zhu Xingxing was still kneeling respectfully, then getting up. He seemed to be very familiar with this series of actions, as if he had done it countless times. Looking at his sincere attitude, it was likely that he had done it many times, so much so that he believed in it. A flying demonic beast happened to be flying in the direction that Wang Sheng was coming from. However, the knight on top of it obviously did not notice that there was a person flying diagonally above it. The 3 knights were still lowering their heads, carefully observing the movements on the ground. As long as they found something wrong, they would send out a warning. The beast tamer who was controlling the flying beast seemed to feel that something was wrong. One of the 2 legendary masters on the back of the beast also seemed to have sensed a murderous intent. Could there be an assassin below? The 2 of them stretched their heads out, trying to see the movement on the ground clearly. At this moment, a strong wind blew over their heads. The 2 of them felt a chill on their necks, and before they could react, their heads had already flown into the sky. The remaining person didn't realize what had happened, and was trying his best to look in another direction. Suddenly, he realized that the body of his companion was leaning on him, and there was a bloody smell, and his body seemed to be sticky. What was going on? When he turned around, he saw that his 2 companions had become 2 headless corpses. This scene made the remaining patrolling master look as if he had seen a ghost. He was in the air, and there was nothing around him. How did his 2 companions lose their heads? It was incredible. Fortunately, the master was used to seeing life and death. The death of his 2 companions surprised him, but not enough to make him afraid. Without thinking, The patrolling master immediately raised his hand and sent out a warning signal. The warning signal was made using fireworks. From the time he took out the fireworks, pulled the string, and ignited it, the fireworks burst into the sky and then exploded in the air. It took at least 7 or 8 seconds. This did not include the few seconds when he realized that there was something wrong with his companions. In fact, the flying beast was only a few dozen miles away from the altar. The colorful light from the explosion of the fireworks was relatively eye-catching. The people on the altar didn't hear the sound of the fireworks, but 1 or 2 guards who were in charge of guarding below had already seen the light. The guard's reaction was extremely fast. After seeing the light, he immediately shouted to warn Zhu Xingxing, who was on the altar. Zhu Xingxing was stunned for a few seconds. Looking in the direction of the fireworks, he seemed a little surprised. But after all, he had been in a high position for a long time and felt that it was necessary for him to maintain a calm demeanor. Very calmly stood up, Zhu Xingxing did not panic and walked down the steps of the altar unhurriedly. At the same time, he did not forget to ask the people who were kneeling to get up. Before leaving, he did not forget to look in the direction of the fireworks. However, what made Zhu Xingxing puzzled was that black that seemed to be getting bigger and bigger in his field of vision. Chapter 1132. Wang Sheng flew a distance of several kilometers at supersonic speed. It only took him slightly over 20 seconds to cover that distance. The warning signal from before had already taken more than 10 seconds. When the guards saw the warning signal, it took a few more seconds. In order to show that he was an oracle, Zhu Xingxing calmly walked for a few more seconds. The time taken was enough for Wang Sheng to reach the altar where Zhu Xingxing was. Zhu Xingxing was a divine envoy. Before he became a divine envoy, Zhu Xingxing was the boss of Baoqing Yutang. He dared not say that he had high position, but he was definitely one of the wealthiest people in the world. If Zhu Xingxing wanted to do something, he only needed to give the order and someone would do it for him. If he wanted to kill someone, he only needed to give the order and someone would do it for him. Therefore, no matter how high Zhu Xingxing's cultivation was, he was just an empty shell. It could be said that he had never had any real combat experience. Strictly speaking, it was just that his guards had sparred with him for a few moves. That was all. When Zhu Xingxing saw the black that was getting bigger and bigger, his first reaction was curiosity. It was only when the black dot was so big that he could see that it was a person that he quickly panicked. In fact, from the time he saw the black dot to the time Wang Sheng arrived in front of him, only a second had passed. During this second, Zhu Xingxing was still calmly telling everyone to get up. What? When Zhu Xingxing saw Wang Sheng's face, it was already too late. He only had time to say one word, to ask one word, and then there was no more. Wang Sheng was holding a sharp military knife in his hand. The moment he swept past Zhu Xingxing at supersonic speed, the military knife had already slashed across Zhu Xingxing's neck. His other hand grabbed Zhu Xingxing's hairband. Whoosh! The experts from Shanyue Kingdom, who had just gotten up from the altar, didn't even see what had happened. The divine envoy that they had always believed in had lost his head in an instant. The headless corpse was still standing at the same spot. Blood spurted out of the flat neck 6 feet high, forming a small fountain of blood. However, this scene struck fear into the hearts of the barbarian experts of the Shanyue Kingdom. What the hell happened? It was only then that everyone heard the sound of fireworks exploding, as well as a series of rumbling sounds. It was the sound of Wang Sheng's flight breaking through the sound barrier. Someone saw the figure of Wang Sheng flying past, but Wang Sheng's speed was too fast, and he disappeared in a flash. When they wanted to look again, their line of sight was blocked by the high altar. By the time he turned around, Wang Sheng's figure had already disappeared. In a flash, countless screams began to ring in Ningyu City. The Supreme Oracle suddenly lost his head. For these barbarians who had long been brainwashed, it could almost be said that their faith had collapsed. The sky was falling. In less than 20 minutes, the entire Ningyu city fell into an irresistible fear and sorrow. All the barbarians in the city looked as if they had lost their parents. Countless people knelt down on the ground, tears streaming down their faces. There were a few barbarians who were allowed to enter the periphery of Ningyu City and do business with Shanya Kingdom. They looked at all this inexplicably, not knowing what had happened. Finally, there were a few smart people who understood something from the actions of the barbarians, and they were shocked. They didn't dare to stay any longer. Before these barbarians reacted, they quickly left. If they didn't leave now, they were afraid that they would never have a chance to leave again. Wang Xing didn't care about what happened in Ningyu City in a short period of time. He was now controlling the flying squirrel suit and flew past another flying monster. He cut off the head of the beast tamer and flew forward without looking back. Without the command of the beast tamer, the flying monster simply ignored the commands of the two passengers on it and just flew around randomly. As for the other flying monsters in the other directions, none of them thought of chasing him. By the time they thought about it, it was already too late. They couldn't even see Wang Sheng's shadow. As long as the flying squirrel suit had speed, it could continue to fly. However, as the distance got farther and farther, the speed would gradually decrease. Although it was below the speed of sound at this time, the speed was still very terrifying. But for Wang Sheng, there was no danger anymore. It was nothing more than enough time and enough distance to slow down. After flying for dozens of miles, Wang Sheng heard heavy snow scream. Without looking up, Wang Sheng could already feel heavy snow's body flying above him, even blocking the sun. The 6 words formula sent a signal to heavy snow. Heavy snow nimbly flipped a few times in the air and instantly flew below Wang Sheng, maintaining the same speed as Wang Sheng. Wang Sheng easily grabbed the long feathers on heavy snow's back again, and then lightly landed on the back of heavy snow. After calling out to heavy snow flapped his wings a few times, soared into the sky, and disappeared into the clouds in the blink of an eye. From the beginning to the end, Wang Sheng did not land. Because of the speed, Wang Sheng's body was not stained with any blood. All the blood was left far behind Wang Sheng, and it was too late to catch up with Wang Sheng's body. In the eyes of the experts of the Shanyue Kingdom, the death of the divine emissary was too unbelievable. They didn't even know what had happened. The entire Shanyue country seemed to have suddenly lost its backbone, and everything was in a mess. Those smart guys who ran alone left Ningyu City at the fastest speed, and then quickly fled to the hiding places they had prepared in advance outside the city. Ningyu City had a flying mount, so how far could they run? They could only hide and wait for an opportunity to escape. Those who were not smart enough thought that the barbarians would let them go. In the end, just a moment later, all the outsiders in Ningyu City were beheaded and placed in front of the headless corpse of the oracle. Soon, the chaos in Ningyu City slowly subsided. Zhu Xingxing's original subordinates came forward and temporarily stabilized the situation. However, a few smart guys could no longer be found. The news inevitably began to spread from Xia 10 days later. Then, with Xia as the starting point, it quickly spread throughout the entire kingdom. Everyone who heard the news was dumbfounded. Zhu Xingxing of Shanyue country was inexplicably killed under heavy protection in Ningyu City. Even until now, no one knew who killed Zhu Xingxing. How is this possible? Could it be that all the experts in Ningyu City were deaf and blind? They couldn't even see the face of the killer? When the news reached the carefree city, the butler was dumbfounded. How did Wang Xing do it? Chapter 1133. The worry-free city did not have the habit of publicizing information for free unless someone paid a high price for it. Moreover, since it was related to Wang Sheng, the price of the information must be ridiculously high. The housekeeper had mentioned this when he delivered the information about Wang Sheng. Wang Sheng also nodded in agreement, but if no one asked, the worry-free city would have to pretend to be deaf and mute. Everyone in the world was going crazy. How did Zhu Xingxing, who had been in the limelight for a while, suddenly lose his head? Who did it? How did they do it? How did they enter Ningyu City under the protection of thousands of experts, kill Zhu Xingxing, and still escape unscathed? These questions were enough to make countless experts rack their brains. After being dumbfounded, the higher-ups of all parties were overjoyed. Why was the Shangyue state so powerful? Wasn't it because those barbarians were completely brainwashed and were crazy about the oracle's willingness to sacrifice their lives without hesitation? Now that Zhu Xingxing was dead, wouldn't the Shangyue state become a piece of juicy meat waiting to be slaughtered? This time, all parties no longer hesitated to choose between the state of Dai, the state of Xia, and the state of Shangyue. What was there to think about at this time? Why didn't they hurry up and send their experts to the mountains to seize as much territory as they could, and seize as many flying demon beasts as they could? Everyone had the same attitude. The state of Xia, the state of Qiu, and the state of Tang, who bore the brunt of the attack, immediately sent a large number of people to the land of Shangyue after receiving the news. The state of Xia immediately counterattacked the occupied cities, while the state of Qiu sent more experts. The state of Tang was the happiest. The state of Tang was the one who joined the battle the shortest and suffered the least losses. However, it was also the most justifiable one. At that time, the three great priests' method of sowing discord gave the state of Tang the biggest excuse. It just so happened that the state of Tang was one of the three countries that border the land of Shangyue the most. It was simply the most convenient country to annex the land of Shangyue. Even the state of Feng, which bordered the state of Shangyue and had not been attacked before, did not hesitate to send experts to attack. At the same time, they sent envoys to the state of Xia and the state of Tang to discuss how to divide the land of Shangyue as soon as possible. It couldn't be helped. There were too many wolves and not enough meat. If they were too slow, there wouldn't be much left of the mountain. In just a few days, almost all of the barbarian tribes that had been discovered in the mountain range were attacked and occupied by various parties. At this time, all the forces revealed their ferocious teeth. No matter what, they would take as much as they could. The royal family did not stay out of the matter either. However, they did not directly send people to attack and occupy the mountains. Instead, they announced to the world that those who opened up new territories in the mountains would be rewarded with titles of nobility according to the size of the territory they controlled after reporting to the imperial court and obtaining the approval of all parties. This time, it was as if a torch had been thrown into a pot of boiling oil. The emotions of all parties rose like raging flames, and they were all set ablaze. Facing hilltop land, they were practically giving it their all. Promotion, wealth, territory, and official rewards. If he didn't work hard now, when would he? How many people coveted the title of nobility? How many people were fighting for this title? Who would be willing to give such a great opportunity to others? Just as everyone was frantically trying to carve up the tranquil mountain land, someone from Carefree City finally thought of buying the information with a huge sum of money. Carefree City did not stand on ceremony. After a huge sum of money, they gave the answer. Immediately, the news that Wang Sheng had killed Zhu Xingxing spread all over the world. When the higher-ups of the various forces heard the news, they immediately came to a realization. So was Wang Sheng. No wonder. Then they were even more puzzled. How did Wang Sheng do it? It made them even more curious. When the news spread, Wang Sheng was already on his way back to the capital. For the past half a month, Wang Sheng had not been wasting his time. Instead, he had been discussing with Heavy Snow to get Heavy Snow to move. According to Wang Sheng's estimation, the core area of the Land of Despair will become a vast ocean in at most a year's time. For snow carving and heavy snow, that was definitely not an environment that he would like to live in. Moreover, once the iceberg melted, Heavy Snow's nest would be destroyed. Then, there would be a food shortage followed by climate change. When that time came, Heavy Snow would definitely be forced to move away. Rather than looking for a place in a hurry, it was better to help Heavy Snow find a suitable place to build his nest now. Wang Sheng treated Heavy Snow as a friend. After playing with him so many times, he was very happy. He did not want Heavy Snow to face that kind of situation when the time came. Therefore, when Heavy Snow was on his back, Wang Sheng kept trying to persuade him. Heavy Snow was obviously unwilling, but he could not resist Wang Sheng's persuasion. In the end, he agreed to fly north with Wang Sheng. In the world of ice and snow further north, Heavy Snow was definitely at a crushing level. After a few rounds, he finally found a few suitable places. After that, there was nothing for Wang Sheng to do anymore. Heavy Snow had to decide on his own where to build his nest. The selection of materials was not something that Wang Sheng could help with. In the end, Heavy Snow brought Wang Sheng back to the core of the land of Thousand Despair. Then, under Wang Sheng's urging, he flew around the core of the land of Thousand Despair a few times. In the end, he abandoned his original nest and flew north. After watching Heavy Snow fly away, a smile finally appeared on Wang Sheng's face. Although Heavy Snow was only a snow carving, Wang Sheng really treated him as a friend. After playing around in the land of Thousand Despair for such a long time, there was bound to be feelings between them. Although he had spent an extra half a month in the north, Wang Sheng felt that it was worth it. If there was a chance in the future, Wang Sheng would definitely go to the snowy plains in the north to see Heavy Snow. In the core of the land of Thousand Despair, Wang Sheng had already discovered quite a number of people trying to enter slowly from the back of Heavy Snow. Of course, many of them were from the Xia family. They had a map with them and had a year's head start. Even though they were about to collapse under the attack of the Shanhua Kingdom, they did not forget to explore the core of the land of Thousand Despair. The head start bought with 500 million gold coins was definitely not to be wasted. Wang Sheng did not alert anyone. With Wang Sheng's ability, it was too easy to hide from someone in the core of the land of Thousand Despair. Zhu Xingxing died at his hands. Wang Sheng no longer had a knot in his heart. When he came out of the land of Thousand Despair, Wang Sheng still passed by the village that Zhu Xingxing had massacred. The villagers in the village had already changed. This was the outskirts of the capital, not a desolate place. Although people had died before, there were still some who were willing to move in. It was better than living in the wilderness. Wang Sheng did not alert the villagers. He found a place and placed Zhu Xingxing's head on it. He lit 3 joss sticks and stood there watching the joss sticks burn halfway. Wang Sheng smiled and turned to leave, heading straight for the capital. When he returned to Changshan Duke's mansion, the first thing that Wang Sheng saw was the increasingly beautiful Mei Er. When she saw Wang Sheng, Mei Er no longer held back. She ran all the way and jumped onto Wang Sheng's body. She hugged Wang Sheng tightly, refusing to let go. Chapter 1134. Wang Sheng went out to kill people this time. On the one hand, it was to untie the knot in his heart. On the other hand, he wanted to accept Mei Er with a new mental outlook. Mei Er was very clear about this, so she had been waiting for Wang Sheng to come back. The servants in the mansion naturally saw all this, but no one saw it and were busy with their own things. Feeling Mei Er's joy from the bottom of her heart, Wang Sheng was also full of the joy of reunion. With a stretch of his hand, Wang Sheng picked up Mei Er, who was hanging on his neck, and walked to the backyard. This kind of situation seemed to have happened many times. In the eyes of many people, it was estimated that Wang Sheng and Mei Er had sex many times. But only Wang Sheng, Mei Er, and a limited number of people around them knew that Wang Sheng and Mei Er had actually been very pure. As soon as they walked to the practice room where there were only the two of them, Mei Er was no longer reserved. Her cherry lips were directly pressed on Wang Sheng's lips, and her lilac tongue also came over. For more than a month, Mei Er was almost like a year. Today, she finally saw Wang Sheng come back, and she really hugged Wang Sheng and kissed Wang Sheng. Of course, Mei Er knew how terrible Ning Yueqing was, and of course, how difficult it was to kill Zhu Xingxing. But Wang Sheng really did it, and it was only in a short period of more than a month. Once the worries in her heart were put down, the burning emotions no longer needed to be suppressed, and they burst out wildly. A deep kiss lasted for a full 10 minutes, and Mei Er moved her red lips away from Wang Sheng's. She hugged Wang Sheng tightly again and leaned on Wang Sheng's shoulder happily. She closed her eyes and said, "It's so good to have you." Wang Sheng had been hugging Mei Er the whole time, and he still hadn't let go of her. A smile appeared on his face, and he lowered his head slightly, burying it in Mei Er's neck, and took a deep breath. Mei Er's body fragrance was like the most mellow wine, making Wang Sheng feel relaxed and happy, and also sweeping away the fatigue that Wang Sheng had accumulated during this period of time. In his heart, he had never felt so relaxed before. It was as if Mei could make Wang Sheng let go of everything. It was a warm feeling like home. This was something that Wang Sheng had never felt since he came to this world. Exchange code NAKM7. Quick, tell me, how did you do it? Mei finally recovered from the intimacy, and then immediately became extremely curious. She asked Wang Sheng. After saying this, Mei suddenly took the initiative to stop Wang Sheng. Wait, I'll go call the old Taoist and Rosa and let them listen. After saying this, she rushed out happily to call them, and at the same time, she did not forget to remind Wang Sheng. Hurry up and take a bath. Your body stinks. Why didn't you say this when you kissed me just now? Wang Sheng complained bitterly, and then went to take a bath obediently. During this time, Rosa came in obediently to help Wang Sheng take a bath, and after serving him, they went out together. Mei had already prepared wine and dishes in the practice room, waiting for Wang Sheng to come out. The old Taoist also came over with his back and was slowly drinking. Quick, tell me, how did you do it, Duke? Now that everyone was present, Mei immediately urged Wang Sheng. You're so curious? Wang Sheng asked with a smile and reached out to grab a piece of braised meat and stuffed it into his mouth. Of course, the one who answered was Rosa. Rosa smiled sweetly and explained to Wang Sheng, when the news first spread, countless experts were curious about what method you used, Duke. Even head steward Li from the imperial family came to ask 3 times. The sisters of Grandview Garden were asked countless times by those female customers in Dream Workshop alone. That's not all. Mei also laughed. During this time, the shopkeepers of Qian Xingyuan, Run Z Workshop, and Yun had been asked by countless people. Those shopkeepers were all on the verge of tears. Now, as long as a customer asks this, they will immediately be politely asked to leave by the shopkeepers. That's normal. The old Taoist also spoke up. No one wants to be like Zhu Xingxing and lose his life for no reason. Do you think they're concerned about what method you used? They're afraid that you'll use the same method on them. Wang Sheng nodded. Just as the old Taoist said, Wang Sheng's killing of Zhu Xingxing this time was too unimaginable, and no one could understand it. The more mysterious and unknown something was, the more afraid people would be. This was human nature. As for those big shots, they were even more afraid that the same method would fall on them. Although Wang Sheng had only killed Zhu Xingxing this time, a businessman with mediocre cultivation, the fact that he was able to come and go as he pleased despite being surrounded by thousands of Shangyue experts was a huge threat to anyone. Therefore, these people tried every means to know what method he used. Their purpose was obvious. First, they wanted to take precautions, and second, they wanted to see if they could reproduce it. Tell the shopkeepers that if anyone asks, tell them that this method can't be used again in the future. Wang Sheng smiled and said to Rosa, and then began to explain to the 3 people. The method is very simple. You just need to fly. As soon as Wang Sheng opened his mouth, he saw Mei and Rosa's surprised eyes. Wang Sheng smiled and said, the old Taoist should also know it. You can fly, but you can't fly away after coming down, right? It was not the first time that the old Taoist and Wang Sheng had skydived, and it was very exciting every time. Naturally, they knew about skydiving and hang gliders, but they didn't know about hang gliders, so they were still confused. Also, how can we come down without being discovered? If they used a parachute, they would definitely be a big target when they landed, and the speed would not be fast. If they used a hang glider, the speed would not be fast either. This was also what the old Taoist couldn't figure out. There's a kind of suit that can make you go very fast. Wang Sheng smiled and showed them the flying squirrel suit. Mei and Rosa were surprised for a while. They grabbed the glider suit and observed it carefully. As for the old Taoist, after seeing the flying squirrel suit, he roughly understood what was going on. Of course, it was fast to glide at high speed with only one suit, and the target was very small. Thinking of the exciting speed after skydiving, the old Taoist figured out directly. With such a fast speed, the experts of Shanhua country would not expect someone to fall from the sky. Even if they did, they would not be able to react in 2 seconds at most if they were caught off guard. After following Wang Sheng for such a long time, Old Taoist had gone up into the sky, dived into the water, rode a motorcycle in the snow, and jumped high up in the sky with a parachute. Old Taoist was no longer surprised that Wang Sheng would come up with something that would stun him from time to time. If Wang Sheng couldn't do it, the Old Taoist would be surprised. Old Taoist, you look so relaxed. Have you figured out the mind cultivation method of meditation? After telling his experience, Wang Sheng ignored the 2 girls who were studying the flying squirrel suit and asked the Old Taoist directly. Chapter 1135. Wang Sheng looked at the Old Taoist expectantly, but the Old Taoist just pursed his lips at Mei-er. Wang Sheng turned his head and immediately saw the proud expression on Mei-er's little face. Seeing this expression, Wang Sheng knew that the Old Taoist had already improved the mind of meditation. He couldn't help but be overjoyed. He cupped his hands and thanked the Old Taoist solemnly. "Thank you, senior brother." Puffed. The Old Taoist looked at him with contempt and completely ignored Wang Sheng's thanks. Wang Sheng understood that the Old Taoist was showing Wang Sheng that there was no need for such thanks. If they really wanted to thank Wang Sheng, perhaps the entire Taoism would have to thank him. Even the Old Taoist could improve the mind of meditation in such a short time because of the Tao Te Ching taught by Wang Sheng and the Taoism heritage he had received. Otherwise, he didn't know how long it would take. However, it was different this time. Wang Sheng knew very well that this time, the Old Taoist was not doing it for himself, nor for the Taoism. It was just because of Wang Sheng's request to save Mei-er. Wang Sheng would remember this kindness in his heart. It seems that our Taoism will soon have a top-notch mind of meditation. Wang Sheng didn't mention anything about thanking him. Instead, he picked up his wine glass and drank happily with the Old Taoist Ling Su. At the side, Mei-er smiled slyly. How could someone as smart as she not know that Wang Sheng was thanking her on her behalf? Wang Sheng valued her so much that he did not hesitate to thank the Old Taoist for her. This was clearly a manifestation of Wang Sheng's deep affection for her. It would be strange if Mei-er was not happy. Since you have a new cultivation method, why don't you show it to me quickly? After drinking, Wang Sheng immediately resumed his carefree attitude with the Old Taoist and reached out his hand to the Old Taoist Ling Su. Ask Mei-er for it. The Old Taoist did not have a good attitude and directly pushed it to Mei-er. Mei-er, who was at the side, kept nodding her head, looking as if she had something good. Wang Sheng couldn't help but smile. Everyone was happy and cheerful during the meal, and there was endless laughter. At night, Mei-er and Rosa happily lay in the bedroom with Wang Sheng and fell asleep together. It was a harmonious and happy mess. Duke, Steward Zhou has sent a message, inviting you to visit the house opposite. Early in the morning, Wang Sheng had just finished his routine cultivation and morning classes. He was accompanying Mei-er and Rosa to eat breakfast when Steward Wang hurriedly ran over to report. So urgent? Wang Sheng was stunned. Although Wang Sheng knew that everyone was curious about what method he used, and the royal family was no exception, the emperor actually came over to invite him so early in the morning. Wasn't this a little too impatient? Let's go. Wang Sheng was also straightforward. Since the emperor invited him, he should go. We can go and eat their breakfast. Steward Wang pursed his lips as he listened. Only this master of his could say such words. If it was someone else in the capital, would they try to say this? It would be strange if the 3 great consecrators didn't beat them up. After staying in Duke Chongqing's mansion for so long, plus Wang Sheng often visited the house opposite, the identity of the family opposite had been vaguely revealed to Steward Wang by Steward Zhou, who claimed to be the housekeeper. There are no more than 5 people in Duke Chongqing's mansion who knew the identity of the family opposite, and Steward Wang was one of them. This was also one of the reasons why Steward Wang admired this master of his. Wang Sheng's status made Steward Wang have a lot of face in front of outsiders, and his back was always straight. Rosa took the initiative to stay. She hadn't passed down Wang Sheng's instructions yesterday, and she happened to be busy with this matter today. Moreover, the Emperor and the Empress invited Wang Sheng. Mayor could go, but Rosa was definitely not qualified. Old Joe, hurry up and prepare some breakfast. As soon as they entered the opposite door, Wang Sheng wasn't polite and shouted at Steward Joe, who was waiting at the door, "Prepare a few more meat dishes. I just finished my morning class and haven't eaten yet." The few servants at the side looked down as if they didn't see or hear anything. Steward Joe didn't act like an outsider and immediately ordered to prepare breakfast without saying a word. After ordering, he brought Wang Sheng straight to the central hall. Because Wang Sheng wanted to eat breakfast, the Emperor originally planned to chat with Wang Sheng in the central hall, but now it was changed to the side hall next to the central hall, eating and chatting at the same time. Naturally, it was still Steward Joe accompanying the guest. As for Mayer, she naturally went to the back hall to accompany the Empress for breakfast. Wang Sheng did not stand on ceremony here. His chopsticks flew like the wind, sweeping away the clouds. The current Wang Sheng's appetite was much bigger than when he was training on Earth. Even in front of the Emperor, he ate to his heart's content. Curious, right? After eating to fill his stomach, he removed the leftovers and replaced it with wine. Only then did Wang Sheng ask the Emperor, who had been waiting for a while. The Emperor didn't expect Wang Sheng to ask so directly. He was stunned for a moment and then nodded. Wang Sheng was right. He was indeed curious to the point that he couldn't sleep. Otherwise, he wouldn't have invited Wang Sheng to his mansion so early in the morning to chat. Originally, he was still thinking about how to start the conversation. Now that Wang Sheng asked, it saved everyone from embarrassment. It was good to skip the nonsense and go straight to the point. The Emperor was used to playing the game of Cloud Mountain and Fog Mountain with the ministers. Now that Wang Sheng was so direct, it really made the Emperor feel fresh. Steward Joe, who was at the side, wanted to laugh but didn't dare to. He could only hold it in. The Emperor had never had such a moment before. Only when he was in front of Wang Sheng would he have such a feeling. However, Steward Joe didn't say anything. As long as Wang Sheng didn't have the intention to kill the Emperor, even if Wang Sheng robbed the Emperor in front of him, Steward Joe probably wouldn't care. "Don't worry, I won't be able to use it in the future." Wang Sheng smiled at the Emperor. He wanted to dispel the Emperor's worries first. These people who played politics and intrigue were all suspicious by nature. It was better to give them a reassuring pill first. One-time use. The Emperor was stunned again, but he immediately reacted. More or less. Wang Sheng nodded. It's mainly because of Zhu Xingxing's cooperation. He likes to stand alone at the highest place. Everyone around him is kneeling, and he is the only one standing. This is to show his high and incomparable position. These words were clearly referring to Zhu Xingxing, but in fact, it was subtly hinting at the Emperor. Even Steward Zhou frowned when he heard it, not to mention the Emperor. Think about it. You are standing at the highest place, and there is no cover around you. The guards are also kneeling. Isn't this the best target? Wang Sheng said it deliberately. He smiled as he said, "Coincidentally, you have a tool that can quickly kill the opponent from a long distance. If it was you, would you use it?" "I will use it. Of course I will use it." The Emperor nodded without hesitation. Then he frowned and asked, "What if my enemy also uses this method to deal with me? What should I do?" "That's easy." Wang Sheng smiled. "Let anyone kneel, but don't let the person who is protecting you kneel when it's time to protect you." Chapter 1136. So simple. Tianzi was stunned once again. This was the third time he was stunned today. Not only was he stunned, but his head was also covered in cold sweat. Of course, Wang Sheng still smiled. Zhu Xingxing likes to cripple his own martial arts. You're so wise, you won't repeat his mistake, right? Tianzi was an understanding person, especially this Tianzi who managed to manage the capital city to its current state under the heavy suppression of various parties. It could be said that the current Tianzi was definitely an understanding person with huge ambitions. What was good and what was bad at this time, Tianzi had not yet gained power, so he could still understand. Wang Sheng had already made it very clear that he was willing to use a powerful weapon. But the most important thing was that Zhu Xingxing crippled his own martial arts. To let the people protecting him kneel while he stood, such an obvious target. Even if Wang Sheng did not use the mysterious weapon, he could still kill him with a heavy sniper crossbow. Thus, the mysterious weapon was secondary. The most important thing was to protect his own people. The three great consecrators were now in the 10th degree realm. If there was an assassin who could break through their defense at once, Tianzi was indeed the Tianzi. After pondering for a while, he understood Wang Sheng's meaning. He didn't think too much and directly ordered Steward Zhou, Old Zhou, make a decree. In the future, the three great consecrators will not kneel when they see me. In addition, the guards on duty, no matter when they are on duty, cannot kneel. This servant thanks your majesty for your grace. Steward Zhou stood up and knelt down in front of Tianzi. Tianzi was about to frown when Steward Zhou shouted, "Please allow this servant to kneel this time. I thank your majesty for your grace." Thump, thump, thump. Steward Zhou kowtowed 3 times and stood up. He turned to Wang Sheng and bowed. "This servant thanks Duke for your guidance." This time, Steward Zhou did not kneel to Wang Sheng. What a joke. In the future, if he did not kneel to the Tianzi, would he kneel to anyone else? Bowing to Wang Sheng was already the limit, a big gesture. However, Steward Zhou was really grateful to Wang Sheng for teaching Tianzi a lesson in time. Although this was not targeted at Tianzi, but Zhu Xingxing's fate could also alert Tianzi. Recently, Tianzi was indeed a little arrogant. Seeing that the various factions were in chaos, the royal family was taking the opportunity to strengthen itself. It was a little hard to suppress its inflated ego. Not only the Son of Heaven, but even Steward Zhou and the other two were the same. Steward Zhou, Steward Li, and old eunuch Shun were involved in the situation, and sometimes they couldn't see things clearly. Moreover, the three of them had just broken through to the 10th degree realm and thought that other than old Taoist Ling Su, there were only the three of them. How many heroes under the heavens would be able to enter their eyes? Wang Sheng's words made Tianzi aware of the crisis he might face in the future. It also made Steward Zhou aware of their arrogance and carelessness. If what Wang Sheng said was true, once Wang Sheng had the intention to make a move, even the three guards wouldn't be able to stop Wang Sheng. That's right. Wang Sheng smiled and returned the greeting to Steward Zhou, then turned back to Tianzi and continued smiling. To forge iron, you need to be strong yourself. As long as you don't make any mistakes and slowly increase your strength. So what if the outsiders are strong or not? If they're really unreasonably strong ones, you won't be able to stop them. But at least if they aren't strong enough, you can't do anything about it, right? Yes. Tianzi was also happy. Although he didn't get the real secret from Wang Sheng, and Wang Sheng promised that he wouldn't be able to use it in the future, he didn't know if it was true or not. But he got a verbal lesson from Wang Sheng, and it also made him realize that he was indeed somewhat out of balance recently. Tianzi took the initiative to pick up the wine cup and gave a toast to Wang Sheng. Wang Sheng didn't stand on ceremony and generously accepted Tianzi's toast. After drinking, Steward Zhou, who was next to him, even helped to refill his cup. To let Tianzi toast and let the 10th degree realm Steward Zhou, one of the three major consecrators, pour wine for him, this kind of honor, other than Tianzi and the Empress, no one else had such a privilege. Wang Sheng, on the other hand, was enjoying himself with a clear conscience. "Your Majesty, what's your next plan?" After Wang Sheng finished drinking, he asked Tianzi a question. "According to what you said, sit on top of the mountain and watch the tigers fight." Tianzi was in a good mood, and his smile was a lot more. "Do what you usually do. Just write the imperial edict with blank names and wait. Whoever comes to report, give them a small title and help their families to reward the meritorious officials. All right, leave a batch of tickets for the Grand Master's performance for me. I'll take it as a reward." "All right," Wang Sheng replied in a bad mood. "Anyway, the gold coins will be deducted from your bonus. Why don't you give them a special performance? 100 million gold coins will do." All right. Tianzi's eyes lit up. Just give them a special performance. Give them a title and a special performance. Let's see how much territory these few families are willing to give away. Enfeoffment and enfeoffment was to separate the gathered families. The more titles and territories were given, the smaller the division of each vassal state, and the more scattered the power. This was something that Tianzi was happy to see. He couldn't wait for those guys to occupy a few special performances. A few thousand small fiefdoms were much easier to deal with than the 8 major vassal states. If using some other people's territories and empty titles could split the 8 major vassal states, then Tianzi didn't mind adding more. A special performance was only 100 million gold coins. Would Tianzi still put 100 million gold coins in his eyes now? At this point, it could basically be said that Tianzi already knew what he wanted to know. He still didn't know what Wang Sheng didn't want him to know, but he was already satisfied. The purpose of this meeting was exceeded, and Tianzi was very happy. As a matter of fact, he pulled Wang Sheng to drink. Tianzi hadn't been so presumptuous in a long time. Steward Zhou didn't stop him. He took the initiative to pour wine for Wang Sheng and Tianzi until Tianzi was completely drunk. Duke, thank you. When Tianzi was drunk on the table, Steward Zhou took the initiative to thank Wang Sheng again. These days, Tianzi could be said to be exhausted. It had been a long time since he had such a relaxing rest. Today, with the help of Wang Sheng, not only did he reflect on his previous mistakes, but he also didn't have to worry about the conspiracies in the court. Getting drunk once was a great benefit to Tianzi's body and spirit. That was why Steward Zhou thanked him. He was truly loyal to Tianzi, especially since Tianzi had issued a decree not long ago that the 3 great consecrators didn't have to kneel in front of Tianzi. This kind of supreme honor made Steward Zhou feel a sense of loyalty that was willing to give his life to Tianzi. You're welcome. Wang Sheng smiled and replied, let's drink a cup. He picked up a cup of wine and waited for Steward Zhou. Steward Zhou didn't drink a single drop of wine before, but at this moment, he didn't say anything. He picked up the cup in front of him and filled it up, then clinked his cup with Wang Sheng's. When I go back, I plan to let those beauties from Grandview Garden live in the inner courtyard of my Changsheng Gongfu. Wang Sheng smiled and said to Steward Zhou, in the future, no one is allowed to enter the inner courtyard without permission. I'll tell you first, remind your people not to break the rules. If they accidentally enter, they will be killed. Chapter 1137. All right. Of course, Steward Zhou knew how many people in Wang Sheng's residence were spies of the royal family. But since Wang Sheng said so, he couldn't refuse and could only nod. This was already considered very polite of Wang Sheng. He didn't directly ask them to evacuate the people, but just not to the backyard. Moreover, it was Wang Sheng who informed them in advance. If they didn't give him face, it wouldn't be right. Steward Zhou didn't think that Wang Sheng didn't know which people were spies of the royal family. It was just that they didn't say it. Fallout? Unless the emperor's head was kicked by a donkey and filled with feces, he wouldn't make the decision to fall out. Therefore, Steward Zhou could only agree. There was no other choice. I want to cultivate quietly for a year. Wang Sheng saw that Steward Zhou agreed readily, so he didn't make things difficult for him. He simply stated his plan. You have to hurry up. Steward Zhou's heart jumped. Hurry up? What time? Although he already had a very accurate guess, without Wang Sheng saying it, Steward Zhou didn't dare to give a definite decision. But Wang Sheng definitely wouldn't say much. Even if Steward Zhou didn't understand now, with head Steward Li, old eunuch Shun, and the judgment of the emperor after he woke up, he would definitely be able to guess the correct result. Thank you. Steward Zhou stood up again and thanked Wang Sheng with a bow. When you have time, come to my residence for a drink. Wang Sheng smiled. High official is also a human. He can't be tense all the time. Gathering work and rest is the right thing to do. Anyway, the 3 of you can take turns. I'll have to trouble you. Steward Zhou smiled and agreed. Mayor was still chatting happily with the empress. Wang Sheng didn't rush her, nor did he greet the empress. He informed Steward Zhou and left to return to the residence. Last night, Mayer had already given the old Taoist Modified Heart Sutra to Wang Sheng. Wang Sheng did not have the time to look at it, let alone practice it. This seemed to be an opportunity. However, after thinking about it, Wang Sheng did not immediately take it out to cultivate. Instead, he headed straight for the area where the martial grandmasters resided. Now that he was back, he would definitely accept Mayer. Mayer was also looking forward to this moment. Although there was no wedding, Wang Sheng still wanted to give Mayer a beautiful wedding dress. Yes, Rosa had to have her own set as well. Even though Rosa had already admitted that she was a concubine, Wang Sheng still had to consider it. When the two busy tailor grandmasters saw Wang Sheng coming over, their eyes lit up. The Duke usually didn't come, but when he came, he must have a good plan to do. The two of them immediately put down the work in their hands and came to welcome him. Bride's new dress? When they heard Wang Sheng's question, the two grandmasters became even more spirited. Was the Duke going to make a new dress for Madame May? Immediately go outside and find a few sets of ordinary bride's new dress for the Duke to see. The two grandmasters quickly ordered their apprentices. The few grandmaster tailors let them run errands. It would be best if there are all kinds of designs. The few grandmaster tailors that people normally couldn't see didn't even let out a fart at this moment. They quickly ran out and searched everywhere for suitable new clothes. The new clothes that Madame May wants must be for the rich. She doesn't need to look at the common people's clothes. The two grandmasters and Wang Sheng sat at the stone table in the courtyard and started chatting. Although it was said to be chatting, the two grandmasters were actually helping Wang Sheng with his literacy. After the two martial grandmasters' help, Wang Sheng finally understood what was happening. The bride's dress in this world was similar to the ancient ones on Earth. It was also a bright red dress with all kinds of beautiful patterns embroidered on it. If there was anything different, it would be the name and pattern. The phoenix was a taboo in the source spirit world, so it was impossible for there to be a phoenix coronet. If there was one, it would at most be a phoenix coronet. The pattern on it was also impossible for it to be a phoenix, but rather a flower. In Wang Sheng's mind, there were the beautiful phoenix coronets and ceremonial robes in movies and television, as well as the real phoenix coronets and ceremonial robes in museums. There was no lack of creativity, but did not seem to be enough to make phoenix coronets and ceremonial robes. Are there any taboos for the color of the new dress? Wang Sheng asked again. For example, I know of some places where white is pure and auspicious, so the new dress will be white. There are also white ones. A grandmaster replied with a smile. There are some places in the north where the new dress is white. The customs are different. Some people think it is auspicious, while others think it is inauspicious. The key is to see what the person wearing it thinks. Understood. Wang Sheng nodded and then continued to ask for advice. Not long after, several grandmaster tailors had brought back several types of bride's dress that were available on the market, letting Wang Sheng see the real thing. Sure enough, there were red and white, and there were many different kinds. This saved Wang Sheng the trouble of choosing. Since he had come to the two grandmasters, Wang Sheng simply took out some things from his memory. The traditional Chinese phoenix coronet and robe, Wang Sheng described it while drawing it down with a brush. Sometimes the drawing was not very vivid, but the two grandmaster tailors were experts in this field. They helped Wang Sheng to perfect it. The phoenix coronet and robe were good, but the phoenix coronet was the most important. Wang Sheng directly copied more than a dozen designs from ancient movies and TV works. Each one was beautiful. Adding on the ones seen in the Orthodox museums, there were 20 designs. Just these phoenix coronet designs were enough to make the eyes of the two grandmasters shine. They wished they could see the real thing immediately. Unfortunately, they were only tailors, and they needed to make jewelry. They thought that was it, but after Wang Sheng finished talking, he did not stop and began to talk about the wedding dress. The wedding dress was basically white, but there were also red and other colors. Anyway, as the grandmaster said, it depended on what the person wearing it thought, and they could choose whichever they liked. A series of beautiful wedding dresses appeared on the paper one by one from Wang Sheng's description, drawing, and perfection by the two grandmasters. even though they had not been made yet. Just by looking at these beautiful designs, the grandmasters around them were already like perverts who had seen naked women. They could not wait to swallow these designs. As tailors, these trendy designs were the fastest to accept. They could even accept the evening gowns from before, let alone these unbelievably beautiful wedding dresses. They were all experienced tailors. Wang Sheng had already sketched out the designs and explained the materials. All they had to do was imagine what the finished bridal gowns would look like. They closed their eyes and imagined it as if they were intoxicated. It was really wonderful. That's all for the wedding dresses. Wang Sheng had already described and drawn at least 40 kinds of wedding dresses. He thought it was enough, so he stopped describing the wedding dresses. If you have any good ideas, you can add them. Chapter 1138. The two great grandmasters also stopped and rubbed their sore wrists. Wang Sheng's words were very instructive. The two of them felt that their minds were filled with countless wonderful ideas, and they were just short of pouring them all out. As expected, working with the Duke was the best way to stimulate their inspiration. Those exquisite designs, just the crown alone, were enough to amaze the group of grandmaster and great-grandmaster tailors just by imagining it. Wang Sheng was not surprised at all. Who wouldn't give a thumbs up for the designs from the national and international selections and the films and television works of the nation's master teachers? If the various wedding dresses and crowns for royal weddings didn't amaze people, it would be a waste of these designs. The group of great grandmasters was planning to take a break and then start making a few small samples. However, Wang Sheng said, "Don't rush. Let's continue with the other big type, the Chong Sam." "There's more?" All the grandmasters and great-grandmasters present looked at Wang Sheng with a dumbfounded expression, as if they were looking at a monster. Before Wang Sheng came to this world, of all the domestic weddings that Wang Sheng had attended, there had never been a wedding in which the bride did not wear a Chong Sam. The red Chong Sam showed the festive atmosphere, and at the same time, it brought a different kind of beauty to the bride. No bride could resist the temptation of the Chong Sam. When the slim-fitting, sexy, and exquisite Chong Sam were drawn one by Wang Sheng and the two great grandmasters, almost prostrated themselves to worship Wang Sheng. A series of Chong Sams with similar design language but very different details were drawn. As soon as the concept of three-dimensional tailoring was brought up, the few grandmasters who had followed the two great grandmasters to further their studies suddenly saw nothing but a golden path in front of them. They were all people who knew what was good and what was bad. If they could really realize the concept of three-dimensional tailoring proposed by the Duke, then the opportunity to become a great grandmaster would be right in front of them. "Duke, please give us a chance." One of the smart grandmasters did not say anything else. He immediately kowtowed to Wang Sheng and said, "Please let us try making a 3D Chi Pao." When the other grandmasters heard this, they did not even think about it and kowtowed as well, pleading together. "If you don't do it, do you want me to do it?" Wang Sheng jokingly scolded and asked everyone to get up. "We can do it, but there's one condition. We have to use the best materials and the best craftsmanship. We don't lack money. Also, you have to teach those in the Grandview Garden who want to learn it." A few female grandmasters jumped up from the ground as if they had been injected with chicken blood. They almost patted their chests and promised. "Make one set for each of them according to Madame May's measurements and one set according to Madame Rose's measurements." Wang Sheng instructed in detail. At this point, he suddenly thought of Song Yen. After a moment of hesitation, he continued, "Make a set according to VIP guest number 3's measurements." Did it matter how many sets the Duke wanted to make? The group of grandmasters and great-grandmasters nodded their heads like chicks pecking rice. "If you need to work with a master jewelry maker, feel free to do so." Wang Sheng then urged, "Which great-grandmasters do we need to invite? You can recommend a few, and I'll invite them myself. In addition, I also need some exquisite jewelry. I'll tell them the specific requirements." For things like phoenix coronets, they definitely needed a master jewelry maker. The two great grandmasters didn't hesitate and immediately recommended a few. They were all from Linglong Pavilion. After asking for their residences, Wang Sheng memorized them. I'll invite them today. Exchange code MP2P7. Just as he was about to leave, the two great grandmasters called out to Wang Sheng. Do you have any other requests? Wang Sheng thought the two great grandmasters had some requests and hurriedly said, Just say it. I won't refuse if I can do it. Duke, have you forgotten something? The two great grandmasters looked at each other and saw the smile in each other's eyes. One of the great grandmasters asked with a smile. Forgotten? Wang Sheng looked confused. Did he forget something? Duke, where's your gown? The other great grandmaster blurted out. The madams have so many choices. What about yours? Mine. Wang Sheng was stunned. He realized that he had forgotten about his own. It was fine to wear a phoenix coronet, a shawl, or a cheongsam. Most of the styles matched the styles of this world. However, to wear a wedding gown, you definitely had to wear a Western suit or a Chinese tunic. After bringing modern women's clothing to this world, did he have to bring Western suits and Chinese tunics as well? Forget it. If he died, then so be it. Since he had already brought women's clothing, it didn't matter if he had more men's clothing. Moreover, camouflage clothing and thick boots were already the standard equipment for soldiers on the streets. It wasn't a big deal to have a few more types of formal clothing. At most, he could just treat this world as the Republic of China on Earth, where long gowns and mandarin jackets would go hand in hand with suits and leather shoes, and cheongsam and skirt would go hand in hand with underwear and wedding gowns. How about this? Wait for me to invite the great grandmasters over, and we'll talk about it together. Wang Sheng thought about it and replied to the two great grandmasters, Think about what materials you want to buy first. I'll go invite them. Since the Duke had said so, it was obvious that he had many new designs. For these great master tailors, this was simply the most intoxicating thing for them. How could they not agree to it? Wang Sheng went to look for Master Lu and Old Man Tai. With their introduction, Wang Sheng could talk to almost any great grandmaster in the Linglong Pavilion. Upon hearing that Wang Sheng wanted to look for the jewelry masters, the two great grandmasters brought Wang Sheng to look for them without hesitation. On the way, Wang Sheng thought that other than jewelry, he might also need to make some accessories like watches and belts. Jewelry was easy to make, but watches would probably require a skilled blacksmith. Old Man Tai was very interested, but his forte was handling materials. His skills were not as good as Master Wu's when he made the Emperor's sword. Speaking of which, if he wanted to make a watch, he would definitely need Master Wu's skills. Coincidentally, Master Wu was at Wang Sheng's residence, so he could save himself another trip. Ask Old Qian to come along. Master Lu also suggested, no matter what you want to do, ask Old Qian to come along. He can find you the most suitable person. Even if you can't, he might be able to do it. Old Qian was Qian Xingyuan's current appraiser. Of course, he could not simply call him Old Qian now, which guest did not respectfully address him as Master Qian. He was a master who was second to none in the appraisal industry. Sure, Master Lu and Wang Sheng were master and disciple. Naturally, Wang Sheng would not go against Master Lu's wishes. I'll invite Master Qian. Wang Sheng couldn't help but laugh when he saw Elder Tai's eager expression. He said to Elder Tai, Elder Tai, come along too. When the time comes, I'll need Elder Tai's help to forge a few small items. I plan to focus on studying the art of sculpting during this period of time and earn the reputation of a grandmaster. I hope Elder Tai can help me. Chapter 1139. When he heard that Wang Sheng wanted to become a martial grandmaster, the happiest person was not Old Man Tai, who wanted to make tools, but Master Lu. Master Lu had always felt that Wang Sheng had extraordinary talent in sculpting, which could be seen from the 3 statues of the 3 pure ones that Wang Sheng had carved. Although he failed at the martial grandmaster assessment by chance, Wang Sheng was truly a genius in sculpting. Master Lu could understand that Wang Sheng had been immersed in cultivation previously. In this world, one could not survive without some cultivation, so he did not force Wang Sheng to work hard on sculpting. Now that Wang Sheng had taken the initiative to say that he wanted to work hard on sculpting and become a martial grandmaster, how could Master Lu not be overjoyed? Had the heavens opened their eyes? After walking around the Linglong Pavilion and picking up Old Man Qian at Qian Xingyuan, Yangming thought that since he was going to do it, he might as well make everything he needed. He already had jewelry, clothes, shoes, and cosmetics. So how could he not have a bag that could cure all diseases? Therefore, he found a few leather goods grandmasters under Master Lu and Master Qian's recommendation. Since he needed something to hang on his body, he might as well make some glasses too. Yangming did not have anything suitable in this aspect, so he found a few grandmasters who knew how to handle crystals first. After busying himself for a while, there was already a large group of people by the time he returned. There were already quite a lot of people, but when Wang Sheng returned to the Wang residence, he realized that there were even more people there. When Wang Sheng went out to invite people, the few tailor's grandmasters had already made a list of the materials they needed to buy and sent it to Madame Rosa. Of course, Rosa found it strange. Why were there so many fine fabrics and leather goods? She ran over to take a look and was immediately stunned by Wang Sheng's genius creativity, especially when she heard that Wang Sheng had specially asked Rosa to buy a set. Rosa was so happy that her heart almost melted. By the time Rosa recovered from the great surprise, her smart first reaction was to immediately send Steward Wang to inform Mei Er that it was urgent and that Mei Er should come back as soon as possible. Steward Wang did not dare to delay and hurriedly went to the other side to inform Mei Er. The Son of Heaven and Steward Zhou had already returned to the palace, leaving only Mei Er and the Empress to chat and relax. Hearing Rosa's urgent notice, Mei Er thought that something big had happened and hurried back. The Empress happened to have nothing to do. She was afraid that Mei Er would make mistakes in a hurry, so she hurried back to Duke Chongqing's mansion. It was only after he returned to the residence that he found out what had happened. Mei Er was so happy that her heart was about to explode. When the sweet feeling finally calmed down, she found that the Empress was going crazy. Exchange code 9SE576. I don't care. I want a set of all these beautiful clothes. No matter how high the status of the Empress was, she was still a woman. As long as she was a woman, she could not stand the bombardment of these 3 series of clothes. Even though the Empress had already held a world-famous wedding more than 10 years ago, just looking at the sketch drawn by Wang Sheng and the 2 great grandmasters was enough to make her unable to bear it. So what if she was married? No one said that these wedding dresses, Cheongsam and shawls could only be worn at weddings, right? Why didn't this damn Duke Chongqing be born 20 years earlier? If she could have such clothes at her wedding 20 years ago, how happy would that be? Mei Er and Rosa tried their best to appease the Empress, who had turned into a female Tyrannosaurus. Of course, each of these clothes had to be made according to the size of the Empress. In this way, there were already 4 sets of clothes. The only thing that made Mei Er unhappy was that Wang Sheng actually asked the 2 grandmasters to make a set for guest number 3, which made her very unhappy. Needless to say, the first guest of honor in Dream House was the Empress, and the second guest was Mei Er, who was undeniably the Empress. Previously, guest number 3 had been empty, so Rosa could only be the 4th. Later, when Song Yin came to the capital and came to apply for a VIP card, she was given guest number 3. Mei Er could accept buying an extra set for her wedding dress for Rosa. But what was the point of giving one to Song Yin? The Empress was so experienced that Mei Er nodded without hesitation and agreed with just one sentence. Can she be with Duke Chongqing openly? The Empress only asked one question. No matter how beautiful the wedding dress is, what can she do except wear it secretly in the dark and feel sad? This question made Mei Er immediately understand. As long as it could make trouble for Song Yin, Mei Er was very happy. Moreover, it was the Duke's order, so Mei Er naturally couldn't be blamed. Use the best materials and make them with the best craftsmanship. Mei Er urged again excitedly. I just want to know what expression she will have when she receives these things. When Wang Sheng returned, the first thing he saw was Mei Er and Rose, whose eyes were filled with love and sweetness, as well as the female Tyrannosaurus Empress, who had just been appeased. Of course, there were many people because the Empress also had many guards. It was morning when he came back from the opposite door. It was already past noon when Wang Sheng talked about so many designs with the tailors. By the time Wang Sheng came back, it was already dark. At this time, the empress should have returned to the palace, but this time the empress was furious on the spot. Even if the sky fell down, even if she died, she would listen to Wang Sheng's designs, not to mention the forbidden palace of the palace. It was said that Wang Sheng went to invite a jewelry master. As a woman, how could she resist the temptation of exquisite jewelry? She had no choice but to send someone to report to the emperor. Wang Sheng thought that the emperor would send someone to invite the empress back, but the person came. Old eunuch Shun led the team, but he directly stayed, saying that the empress would go to Duke Chongqing's mansion tonight and ask Duke Chongqing to entertain her. Fine. Anyway, she was half a mother-in-law. If she wanted to stay, she could stay. One sheep was herding, and a flock of sheep was also herding. It didn't matter if one or two were missing. According to Wang Sheng's idea, he invited everyone here so late, served them well, and had a good rest at night. Tomorrow morning, Wang Sheng would explain his ideas and designs to everyone. It was just some designs, and it was hard to say whether they could be made. It was impossible to see the effect immediately, so there should be no hurry. As a result, the empress couldn't get through this. Wang Sheng was directly scolded, and Wang Sheng was forced to explain overnight. Not only the empress, but also Mei and Rosa. If it were only the three of them, it would be easy, and Wang Sheng could also find a way to delay it. But even those great masters had the same idea, so Wang Sheng immediately had no choice but to nod and agree. As a result, they didn't even have a good dinner. They just casually ate a few mouthfuls, and then hurriedly ran to the original tailor's courtyard to gather, urging Wang Sheng to start talking. Chapter 1140. Was it really necessary to think about wedding dresses and jewelry? Wang Sheng really couldn't figure it out. He had underestimated the attraction of these things to women. However, there was one thing that Wang Sheng could be sure of, and that was if these 3 series of clothes went on the market, it would definitely be a huge income. The small courtyard was full of people, and it could no longer accommodate them. As a last resort, Wang Sheng could only take everyone to his practice room, which was spacious enough to accommodate all of them. From the looks of it, just in the area of tailoring alone, there were at least 10 grandmasters and great-grandmasters. Wang Sheng had also brought back more than 20 on this trip. There were also those who had been living in Duke Chongqing's residence for a long time invited over. In total, more than 40 people had left. In addition to Mei Rosa, the empress, and old eunuch Shun, who was guarding the empress. Finally, old Taoist Ling Su, who came watch the fun. There were nearly 50 people in total. This was not counting the guards. All the guards, whether they were from Duke Chongqing's mansion or the imperial palace, had been driven out. If they all came in, the practice room would not be able to accommodate them. As for the problem of safety, it was not a problem at all. Almost every great master was an expert in the legendary realm. In addition to old Taoist Ling Su and old eunuch Shun, Mei Rosa, and Wang Sheng had the lowest cultivation. It would be strange if something happened to such a lineup. Hundreds of huge candles were lit around the training room, illuminating the place brightly, revealing even the slightest detail. In order to let everyone see clearly, Wang Sheng had to ask the carpenter great master to quickly make a large wooden board and put it up as a blackboard. He pasted a large piece of paper on it to explain his ideas and designs to everyone. The first thing he took out were all kinds of phoenix crowns that he had explained to the tailors before. They were made of various materials, inlaid with various gems, and extremely gorgeous phoenix crowns. Wang Sheng took the drawings that he had already drawn and pasted them on the paper to explain to the jewelry great masters what materials to use, what style, and what effect to create. After talking about 5 or 6 designs, the jewelry craftsmen were already jumping up and down in excitement. At their level, their craftsmanship had already reached the pinnacle. If they still wanted to break through, they could only go down the path of innovation and change. To them, They did not lack skills or techniques, they only lacked ideas. Wang Sheng's plan was tantamount to pointing out a bright path for them. As long as they followed it, they wouldn't have to worry about not being able to advance further. They wouldn't have to worry about a few more great grandmasters appearing among their disciples. Just this phoenix crown alone took more than 2 hours. Occasionally, a martial grandmaster would ask questions, and Wang Sheng would answer them in detail. Of course, it wouldn't be called Phoenix Coronet. It would be called Corolla. After talking about the Phoenix Coronet, Wang Sheng took a short break before continuing to talk about jewelry. From the most ordinary hairpins to those with complicated tassels and pendants, he talked about the hairpins. Under the hairpins were the earrings, and under the earrings were the necklaces. Although the earrings were small, there were too many things to talk about. There were long and short ones, big and small ones, thick and thin ones, clip-on ones, ear-piercing ones, pendants without pendants, and all kinds of makeup. There was a whole series of things from the system. It was more detailed than what everyone had seen or heard before. There were even more things to talk about with necklaces. Just the pendants alone, Wang Sheng could casually make hundreds or even thousands of different styles. Apart from the traditional ones with pendants, there were also those without pendants. They just worked on the necklaces. There were gold, silver, jade, pearls, coral, clam, ivory, beast bones, and even wild ones with all kinds of ferocious demonic beast teeth. Bracelets, waist chains, anklets, rings, bracelets, brooches, buckles, nails, pendants, and so on. After a series of explanations, the sky directly brightened. Apart from a few women and the jewelry craftsmen, everyone else was already numb. It was just something that looked good on their body. Did it have to be so complicated? It didn't have as many functions as a storage ring, and it wasn't as useful either. Why were those women so obsessed with it? Fortunately, everyone's cultivation was not bad, and it wasn't a big deal not to sleep for a night. Even if it wasn't their own profession, it would always be useful when they were making things. Everyone listened carefully when they were making things. After breakfast, Wang Sheng suggested that everyone take a rest, but it was once again rejected by everyone, so Wang Sheng could only continue. This time, Wang Sheng began to talk about the men's clothes that matched the previous wedding dresses. There were men's clothes of the same design that matched the phoenix coronet and robe, suits and Chinese tunic suits that matched the wedding dresses, and Tang Mandarin jacket that matched the Chong Sam. Every time Wang Sheng took out a woman's wedding dress, he would take out a matching man's clothes. Mayer and Rosa were already grinning from ear to ear. In their hearts, they had already imagined themselves and Wang Sheng wearing a couple's clothes. The Empress seemed to be on the verge of exploding. Thinking about it, it was normal. Mayer and Rosa would definitely have the opportunity for Wang Sheng to cooperate with them, wearing couple's clothes to show their love, but would the Empress allow the Emperor to wear these to cooperate with the Empress? How could she not be angry? Every time Wang Sheng talked about one more set, the Empress became angrier. But when Wang Sheng took out more and more, the Empress could only smile bitterly. Forget it. I'll just wear those beautiful bride's clothes and admire myself in the palace. After talking about the men's clothes for half a day, it was the women's medicine bag that could cure all kinds of diseases. Everyone could understand the men's clothes just now. Some male grandmasters also liked some of the styles. After all, Wang Sheng also said that they didn't have to be worn together. They could be worn separately. But when it came to the bag, most men began to be confused again. Wasn't it just a bag to store things? Big ones, small ones, square ones, round ones, wide ones, narrow ones, leather ones, cloth ones. In the end, wasn't it just a bag to store things? It didn't contain as much as a storage ring, and it was so troublesome to hold it in one's hand. Why were these women so fascinated? Even the Empress looked like she had never seen the world. Was it really necessary? It wasn't until they talked about watches that the excitement of the women slowly subsided. What was the point of those gears and clockwork things? Why were the eyes of these meticulous grandmasters red with envy? In the eyes of the women, it must be because they didn't sleep well. It was obvious that the women had lost interest in the latter part. So Wang Sheng stopped and let the women leave. At the same time, he let everyone rest. The Empress returned to the palace with all kinds of excitement, while Mei and Rosa began to pull Wang Sheng to plan the new industry happily. The Charm series must have a Red Cape series, the Wedding Dress series, and a Chong Sam series. Mei counted with her fingers, completely ignoring how she was sitting in Wang Sheng's arms and how the physical contact would bring to Wang Sheng. What about the Duke's men's clothes? Add one more victory series. Rosa suggested without hesitation. It's just a pair with Madame's Charm series. Okay. Mayor didn't ask for Wang Sheng's opinion at all, and directly made the same decision. This victory series was simply too much to Mayor's liking. Chapter 1141. Two Money Grubbers. Wang Sheng thought to himself. He didn't participate in their discussion and watched the two money grubbers happily discuss business. He only enjoyed the calm and blissful expressions on their faces. Let's buy another workshop. While the two girls were having a heated discussion about where to put the items, they finally came to an agreement. They decided to buy another workshop right next to the dream workshop. There must be a lot of space for jewelry and men's clothing. Mayor counted with her fingers, listing the reasons why they had to buy another piece. We've added 3 more to the Charm series. If we display all of them, we'll need a lot of space. The current dream workshop doesn't have enough space. Then let's buy it. Wang Sheng didn't care about such a small matter. It was just buying a workshop. How big of a deal was it? There was no need for Wang Sheng to decide. Not to mention Mayor. Rosa probably had enough money in her private stash. Since we're going to buy, let's buy more. Wang Sheng thought for a moment, then suggested again, buy 2 workshops at once so that we don't have space in the future when we need to expand. Also, use the current management method. Men can't enter. Even if they're men's clothing, only women can buy it. This is the way to maintain the style of Dream Workshop. Don't destroy it. Yes. Mayor didn't object at all. Men are all cheap wretches. The more we don't let them see, the more curious they'll be. As soon as she finished speaking, Mayor saw Rosa covering her mouth and snickering. She immediately came to her senses and turned around to hug Wang Sheng, kissing him. Duke, I wasn't talking about you. You're right, Wang Sheng smiled. Actually, I'm also a cheap wretch. I won't cry until I see the coffin. Mayor didn't understand what Wang Sheng was referring to, but she could feel that Wang Sheng really wasn't angry. She calmed down and began to snicker. Right, let's buy the land around Grandview Garden. Only then did Wang Sheng remember to tell Mayor about the Grandview Garden. In the future, surround the Grandview Garden and treat it as the new Duke Chongqing's residence. The Grandview Garden will be our inner residence. No one is allowed to enter. I've already mentioned it to Steward Zhou and asked him to withdraw his men outside. He agreed. We've already acquired the land around Grandview Garden. Mayor worriedly asked Wang Sheng, Duke, is there going to be some kind of danger soon? If Wang Sheng hadn't sensed something, why would he have made such an arrangement? Not for the time being. Wang Sheng smiled and comforted him. Make arrangements in advance so that everyone can get used to it. Don't worry, at least until the Xia family's 1-year opportunity arrives, there won't be any problems. Only then did Mayor feel relieved. Rosa was very happy. Wang Sheng and Mayor were willing to live in Grandview Garden and treat it as an inner residence. This was a great thing for the girls. The girls have been looking forward to it for a long time. Oomph, you're lucky. Mayor pouted and pretended to complain to Wang Sheng. After living in Grandview Garden, he was surrounded by supermodel-level beauties, and all of them were willing to give up everything for Wang Sheng. If Wang Sheng was willing, it could be said that he was living in a land of gentleness. Go pick 2 of your favorite wedding dresses and make them first, Wang Sheng said to Mayor apologetically. Although I can't give you a grand wedding, I can at least give you the most beautiful wedding dress. Mayor knew what Wang Sheng was talking about, so she buried her head in Wang Sheng's arms shyly and said, The Grand Abbey Dean has already chosen the day. I can't wait. Wang Sheng smiled happily. I'm the Grand Abbey Dean's elder. I will definitely choose a better day than him. The day when the wedding dress is made will be the best day. Rosa laughed out loud. She had already had an intimate relationship with Wang Sheng, so she naturally knew what Wang Sheng was talking about. Only Mayor was extremely shy. She buried her face in Wang Sheng's chest because of Rosa's laughter, and she didn't dare to raise her head. After a little intimacy, the three of them hugged each other again and finally had a good sleep. The next morning, Rosa served Wang Sheng breakfast and left happily. She didn't go to take care of the business, but went straight to Grandview Garden to tell her sisters the good news. The Duke was moving to Grandview Garden. Mei on the other hand, went straight to Dream Workshop to solve the problem of its small space. Wang Sheng was left alone, so he went to find the great grandmasters who were good at crafting. Wang Sheng planned to make a clock. It wasn't realistic to ask the great grandmasters to make a watch at once, so Wang Sheng planned to start with a normal clock. However, the structure of a clock that simply kept time wouldn't be too complicated. As long as the materials were suitable and the gears were surprising enough, it shouldn't be a problem. Now that they had a simple lathe, they didn't have any foundation to make these things. Even though it was the simplest clock design that didn't even have the function to tell the time, when Wang Sheng explained it to those meticulous martial grandmasters, they all listened as if they were on a pilgrimage. Duke Changsheng really lived up to his reputation. A random little thing could actually achieve such an effect. It was simply amazing. After drawing the diagram and explaining the detailed relationship between the gears, it took an entire day for the great grandmasters to understand the logic behind it. The great grandmasters rubbed their palms together and waited to show off their skills. They wanted to test the effect first. Of course, Wang Sheng didn't forget to show the great grandmasters what it meant to strive for perfection to the extreme. The military watch was shown to everyone. Just the size alone was enough to stun all the great grandmasters. Not to mention, it had a series of special functions such as telling time, setting time, compass, and lens. Who made this? It was simply uncanny workmanship. Compared to a clock, glasses were much simpler. As long as they could grind out a smooth and transparent crystal, glasses frames didn't require any skill for these great grandmasters. After explaining everything, Wang Sheng finally went to find Old Tai. Previously, he had promised Old Tai to make a set of tools. Now, he finally had enough time to study it with Old Tai. The tools that Wang Sheng wanted to make were carving tools, but the requirements were very high. First, the material had to be hard enough to be carved into the hardest jade. Another requirement was that it had to be detailed enough. This was the basic requirement. Third, it had to be in a small enough space to set up an array formation. To be able to make a spirit drill with a diameter of 1 millimeter and grind tools with a diameter of the same or smaller, Wang Sheng had to develop in the direction of fine carving. For this, Old Tai specially found an array formation great grandmaster and a great grandmaster who specialized in fine carving. According to the pattern drawn by Wang Sheng, they chose the most suitable materials and made a small sample. Then, they let the array formation master do the work. It took more than a month before they finally gave Wang Sheng a complete set of carving tools. Chapter 1142. Wang Sheng only said the request and did not follow up. While everyone was busy, Wang Sheng was alone in the practice room that had already been built in the Grandview Garden, slowly pondering over the void meditation method that the old Taoist had improved. Moving into the Grandview Garden was a very logical thing. After Wang Sheng mentioned it to Mayer and Rosa, they did not need to do anything and just moved in. In the previous days, the sisters in the Grandview Garden did it themselves. Not only did they dig out the swimming pool, but they also modified the various cultivation and training equipment that Wang Sheng needed. It could be said that Wang Sheng did not need to prepare anything and could use it when he came over. It was a seamless combination. Now, the average cultivation of the girls in the Grandview Garden was already at the 6th stage. Although they still could not fight, their ears and eyes were sharp, and almost no movement could escape their attention. Seeing that after another Grandmaster's concert, the average of the girls would be able to advance to the 7th stage. If Wang Sheng was given a year's time, it would not be a problem to let all the girls reach the legendary realm. Wang Sheng and Mayer moved in together and treated the Grandview Garden as the inner residence of Duke Changsheng's residence. When the girls received the news, they were all ecstatic. They did not know how many days they had been looking forward to this day. Finally, they waited for the decision of Wang Sheng to move in. After Rosa informed the girls, the schedule in the Grand View Garden changed again. Every day, there were always 20 sisters staying in the Grand View Garden to serve Wang Sheng and Mayer at any time and anywhere. Now, there were at least 6 beauties outside Wang Sheng's practice room waiting for Wang Sheng's instructions. Wang Sheng was pondering over the void meditation method, and they were also quietly cultivating on their own. But as long as Wang Sheng had any needs, they would be the first to satisfy them. The old Taoists' modified Heart Sutra of achieving emptiness and maintaining calmness had a kind of calmness and calmness that would not change, even if Mount Tai collapsed in front of one's eyes. It emphasized on control. Obviously, this was specially made for Mayer and Wang Sheng. According to the old Taoist's own heart, he would definitely be the kind of person who would not be happy with material things or sad about himself. This was exactly what Wang Sheng and Mayer needed. Mayer had already started cultivating, and it was said that she had picked up the skill very quickly. Wang Sheng held the scroll and carefully studied it for a long time. After the little person simulated the battle consciousness, Wang Sheng then started cultivating. Previously, under the guidance of the old Taoist, there were some emotions that needed to be released. After releasing them, it would be easier to control them. Now that Wang Sheng no longer had the knot in his heart of killing people, his cultivation was simply twice the result with half the effort. Seeing that Wang Sheng had entered a state of cultivation, the few women in the cultivation room became even more cautious. However, they soon fell into a state of surprise. Wang Sheng, who was cultivating, seemed to have disappeared from their senses. He was clearly still there, sitting there, but they could not sense Wang Sheng's aura, nor could they sense Wang Sheng's existence. It was quite amazing. Exchange code QLN 65. Other than Wang Sheng, it seemed that everyone else had something to do. Even the old Taoist Ling Su, Wang Sheng had rarely seen him recently. This was not surprising to Wang Sheng. After accepting the Taoist legacy, it would definitely take some time to digest, absorb, and sort it out. If it was not for the sake of improving the Heart Sutra of achieving emptiness and maintaining calmness for Wang Sheng and Mayer, he would not have come to Wang Sheng's place for no reason. Fortunately, even if it was to improve the technique, it was still considered a practical application of the Taoist legacy. For the old Taoist, there were only advantages and no disadvantages. Ever since Wang Sheng brought dozens of great grandmasters into Duke Chongqing's residence, the people outside began to look forward to it. This was definitely Wang Sheng's big move, and they did not know what new things he would come up with. Sure enough, when Mayer began to buy the 2 houses next to the Dream Workshop, everyone knew that something big was about to happen. Most of the owners of the 2 houses were very cooperative. Mayer offered twice the market price, and they readily sold their houses, foundations, and everything else to Mayer. However, some people still could not see the situation clearly. They were greedy and wanted more. They wanted to be nail-biters. Unfortunately, they did not know who Mayer's biggest partner was. Otherwise, they would not have had this idea. There was no need for people at the level of the 3 great consecrators to make a move. Any head chamberlain of the imperial palace would buy the rest of the houses at the original price. No one dared to say no. The greedy people finally realized that because of their greed, they could have earned twice the market price, but now they were sold at the original price. They were so depressed that they almost vomited blood. In the end, they could only accept this tragic fact. After all, they were sold at the market price. If they really dared to make a scene, the result would not be so peaceful. This was the capital, the territory of the emperor. Would they dare to clamor at the head chamberlain of the imperial palace? Or would they dare to challenge the Qiansheng Yuan Runzi Workshop and the Dream Workshop, which had the emperor's handwritten signboard? Once again, the new workshop began to build on a large scale. It was already certain that there would be new things coming out. Everyone began to wait quietly, waiting for Wang Sheng to bring another surprise to everyone. Wang Sheng cultivated peacefully in the Grand View Garden for half a month. During this period, Wang Sheng met with Tantai Yao and handed all the cultivation technique scrolls given by the Grand Abbot of the Laojun Temple to Tantai Yao. He asked her to ponder over them first and see which cultivation techniques each of the women in the Grand View Garden would cultivate after they reached the Legend Realm. If one wanted to have combat power, one could not just rely on cultivation. These combat techniques and cultivation techniques were all needed. Tantai Yao was still a little worried about where to find these things. In the end, Wang Sheng quietly got more than 1,000 of them. Overjoyed, Tantai Yao did not care about anything else and immediately immersed herself in the busy analysis. What was puzzling was that after Wang Sheng gave the cultivation techniques to Tantai Yao, he seemed to have forgotten about his own cultivation. Since that day, the women did not see Wang Sheng cultivating normally. Although Wang Sheng continued to connect with swimming and running equipment, they did not see Wang Sheng cultivating in the most orthodox way like he usually did. After Rosa learned about it, she also told Mayer. The two women did not go to Wang Sheng, but went to the old Taoist Ling Su who was cultivating in seclusion in Duke Chongqing's residence to ask him for advice. Not cultivating anymore? Old Taoist Ling Su was a little puzzled at first, but after listening to Rosa explain the ins and outs of the matter, especially after asking clearly that Wang Sheng became like this after cultivating the old Taoist modified void, maintaining meditation technique, the old Taoist quickly felt relieved. Not cultivating is a good thing. Forgetting the Dharma is a good thing. Usually, Wang Sheng did not stop cultivating for a day. He never stopped regardless of the wind or rain. Why was it a good thing that he did not cultivate now? The two women were puzzled, but the old Taoist did not explain much. If you understand, then you understand. If you don't understand, then you don't understand. Don't worry about it. With a head full of fog, the two women returned to Grandview Garden. Although the old Taoist had already said that it was a good thing that Wang Sheng did not cultivate, the two women were still not at ease. In the end, the two women decided to give Wang Sheng a surprise, at least to make Wang Sheng happy. Therefore, after Wang Sheng woke up one morning, he was shocked to see that all the women in the entire Grandview Garden had a wedding dress in their hands. They were all wearing it as if they were waiting for Wang Sheng. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.